we're live already anyway.
Is the book open on this one now, sweetie, or did it close?
I think it should.
Let's see. Hey, everybody, are we live? Can anyone hear us?
Live already.
Yeah, not seeing it on my end. Oh, there we are.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
guys.
we're live, we're good.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome.
Hey everybody, are we live? Can anyone hear us? Not seeing it on my end. Oh,
So we got some feedback.
we are.
Yeah, it's off. Was on our end. It's off.
Great.
Yeah.
We're newbies.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight in such short notice once again. I appreciate y'all hopping on.
Yeah. Do you guys want me to
And,
do a brief intro?
Great show lined up for you tonight.
Sound. You're choppy.
Yeah, Justin, can't hear you.
Yeah, you're breaking up, buddy.
All right, I can
There you go.
That's
can y'all hear
better.
me now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Let me close out of a few things.
Can you guys hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hi, everyone.
While you're doing some things there, Justin, let me address everyone here. So first off, what we're doing tonight is, or what the plan was tonight, is to watch an 18-minute clip of John F. Kennedy Jr. in 1998 on Jay Leno, one of his last major mainstream performances, appearances that JFK Jr. had, and it was with Jay Leno. And when we sent the link to Justin today, and we were just checking it for ourselves, what we found is that while the link still shows 18 minutes on the screen card or at the beginning of the video, when you go into the video, it's 11 minutes. There's 7 minutes missing from this video. And the 7 minutes that are missing are all on the Clintons. And so I'm gonna do my best to address from memory what was in that section. And we're gonna watch the 11-minute clip because there's a ton of great stuff that's in here, and then it'll help with what I share. And then plus, Justin is going to make available for you the George Book of Political Lists that John F. Kennedy Jr. was referring to in the show, where you'll be able to get access to a link. I would imagine Justin will just put that into the show notes, and then you can have access to that link for yourself and have the book up on your own computer to go through all of these lists. Because this book, again, this is what Colleen and I are saying to you, is proof positive that JFK completely was ready to go by 1998, knew all that he needed to know about them, and that at this point was just taking pot shots on the most popular TV shows to call the Clintons out, and to he was just pushing their shoulders, pushing their buttons. Do something, do something, do something. Come on, try and take me out. Come on, try and take me out. You're going to see this tonight. And what does this tell you? That 7 minutes about the Clintons has been scrubbed off of this video. And again, Justin can show you this when we go to it. on the intro icon for the video, it's still showing 18 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe, and it's now 11 minutes and 7 seconds. So a little over 7 minutes has been washed out of this video, and it's all on the Clintons. So so with that, I think, do you guys have general comments before we get into this, or should we just go straight into watching the video?
Well, I just wanted to note on the book, you know, it's interesting since this year, anyone who's been trying to find this book, you'll find that everywhere it's been listed, it's for like hundreds of dollars, if not more, because someone out there has been buying every single copy of this book mysteriously because they don't want anyone to read it. But that's why I'm going to make this PDF available to you. And at some point, I'll probably share some tips on how to find books online if you're looking for any book that's been published, because there are definitely some tips that I can share to where you can find just about any book that's ever been published. You know, because information should be free.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jess.
100%. Yeah, and it figures that they would scrub 7 minutes off of the video about the Clintons, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, because in this day and age, Greg, as you well know, everybody who's in the mainstream, they are tied to the hip to the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. That's
Yeah.
your ticket in.
Yep.
If you're going to dance in the mainstream, then you're hooked to the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. So if they go down, you go down. So they got a lot of friends in low places.
Yep. Yep. All roads lead back to Rome. And who do you what do you think? All roads lead back to Rome. And what do you think the palace is? It's called the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to Venice from there.
Yeah.
Incredible, guys.
But yeah, we can hop right into it.
Yeah, I think we should. And folks, but just before we get into it, and I just want everyone now, if you've got a pen and paper, get your pen and paper and take some notes during the show. And things come fast. Like there's a lot of what you would think in this episode. There's a lot of sort of worthless banter. Jerry Seinfeld is on this episode. There's no mistake. There is no mistake, because this was the night of the airing of the very last Seinfeld episode. And that last Seinfeld episode is one of the worst TV shows ever made. It's disgusting. It is basically showing who the cabal are, who the Canaanites are. It was disgusting. It was a disgusting episode. And that was the last night of the episode. So you might think that there's just sort of a coincidence that Jerry Seinfeld is on there, and that's the last night of Seinfeld, or that the sort of worthless banter between JFK Jr. and Jerry Seinfeld. It's not. It's not. You have to listen and listen close. And I want you to, all of you, to watch so closely. Watch Jerry Seinfeld's face and look at he is in terror because JFK is the mystery guest. And I'm going to unveil one thing before we start here. The music you're going to hear, I'm not making this up. The music you're going to hear from the band when they announce, Jay Leno says, we have a mystery guest tonight, and it's finally time to unveil our mystery guest. And it's none other than John F. Kennedy Jr. When he comes out, the band is playing the theme from Unsolved Mysteries. I'm not shitting you. The theme from Unsolved Mysteries. And listen to this. The key main producer of that show, Unsolved Mysteries, was one of the original producers for Jay Leno's Tonight Show. So there's a connection.
Really?
There's a connection. There's more than just one coincidence here. So JFK hasn't gone missing yet, and they're playing the theme to Unsolved Mysteries. And I want you to watch how JFK Jr. shows how the Kennedys have, or the Q team has control of Jay Leno. And you're going to see this in this little fake cover from George magazine that they have about Jay. So please, nothing is random on this. everything is deeply encoded. And it's a real shame that they scrubbed those 7 minutes. I'll do my best to connect to it, and we're going to give you access to the book itself, so you'll be able to find it. But just so take notes, pen, paper, take notes, pay attention, watch Jerry Seinfeld's face, watch Jay Leno's face. This is a stunning 11 minutes of TV.
Yep. All right, here, let's get into it. So first I'm going to show just kind of the anomaly with the sound clip. So if you look here, this one says, I mean, I can't hold my mouse over it, but if I move my mouse away, 1836, and then I click on it, and it jumps to 1117. So they scrubbed a bit.
1117.
Yeah. I'm actually going to use a different clip though, because that one's kind of got a funky sound. And then I found one that the sound is fixed. Yeah, this one. Hold on just a second. Let me make sure. I don't think I checked the box. Yep, good thing I checked.
Yeah, that's what I always have to remember. Check that box.
All right, here we go.
By the way, I just want to say I love you guys.
I love you guys.
Love you too, buddy.
It's time for the mystery guest. He is the editor-in-chief of this fine magazine, George. The nation's largest political magazine. He and the editor of George have a new book out, just came out today, the Book of Political Lists. Very funny, very interesting. Please welcome John F. Kennedy Jr. Well, thanks for coming. We try to keep it a mystery here, so.
You did a very good job.
Well, thank you. No. Thank you for coming out. I know you don't usually do these kind of shows, so it's a thrill to have you here. Now, I know you're a New Yorker. Jerry's moving to New York. Any tips?
Tips. There's this great soup place. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, in the 50s.
Really?
Yeah.
How is the service?
He's a ill-tempered.
I see. All right, I'll check it out.
Let me ask you. I got to tell you, you've my judgment in following Mr. Seinfeld on the biggest night in TV. They always tell you in politics you got to watch who you follow. So I don't know what I was thinking, but it's a great honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you
this night.
Yeah. Let me now.
Whoa!
No, you weren't on Seinfeld, but you were portrayed, right?
My elbow, I think it was.
Yeah, we had. You were in the famous contest episode.
Yeah, well, that's
You
right.
slept with the very.
I did. No, it was funny because I hadn't seen the episode, and I come out of my house in the morning, and everyone is like yelling across the street, and I'm walking to work. You know, I was a district attorney then, and people are driving by in their cars and honking. I'm going, what the heck is going on here? So I walk in, and you know, as people start to say, oh, you know, I saw you last night. Were you on Seinfeld? Were you on Seinfeld? I said, no. What is everyone talking about? So they explained it, and then I had a trial, and I walk into the court, and the defendant is sitting there over there, and he goes, you were on Seinfeld. And I was like, no, I wasn't on Seinfeld. And he leans over to his lawyer and he goes, guy's an actor too. No wonder he failed the bar exam. So,
Can we go back a second? Did you say you hadn't seen the episode?
the only one. It was the only one. But I got it taped, actually. The office is very kind to send it on.
Now, you've been obviously around politics your whole life. Do you think you will ever run? Would you ever run? Is that something people always?
Well, you know, other than people asking me, were you on Jerry Seinfeld show? That is the second most frequently asked question. You know, I'm being an editor of a political magazine. You're able to be in politics without really being in politics.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's like like being the vice president, I guess. for-
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same.
But it's.
Is it?
I mean, I have a great time doing that, and we all know that politics is a tough profession these days, but I think a very rewarding one.
Well, the magazine is terrific. I know. I look through it because it gives me great ideas for jokes.
Really?
Well, I like it because it's. Well, no, it is because. I mean, sometimes you read political magazines. It's all sort of very dry.
Right.
Whereas you guys always come at it from a
Yeah.
funny angle, which
Right.
kind of sparks.
Right.
And you always do interesting covers. You always have people playing.
Yeah.
Like you had. Who was Dennis Rodman? What political figure was he?
No, Charles Barkley.
Oh, Barkley. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
he was George Washington.
George Washington.
And Harrison Ford was Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
And Howard Stern was George Washington,
Well, there you go.
which there was a remarkable similarity there. And I mean, we've always actually been, trying to get you on the cover to do.
You think so?
Yeah.
Who would I?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think we happen to have one.
Is
right
this?
here.
Oh, I will. I'd love to do it. Who would I?
I think it's very
Oh, that's lovely.
lovely. Has anyone seen this?
It's I see. That's lovely. And I'm a handsome woman, very busty. Apparently, I'm a very busty woman. Well, now we're busting people for pictures. Let me ask you something, because I
What?
know in your life, I always see you. You always seem very dignified and avoid this and avoid that. And
You don't
one
see
day
me.
I opened George, and there is a picture of you naked in your own magazine. Wait, show. We have the picture. Show. There you are, right there. Now.
How do you know he's naked? I can't tell if he's naked.
Yeah, exactly.
He looks like he's wearing shorts.
Exactly. And running shoes.
No. The
He
man.
could have a very small tuxedo on.
All right. Now,
You might not be wearing pants. under there.
Exactly.
No one knows that.
now, were you naked in the photo?
I wasn't actually. I was.
Oh.
I was wearing pants and shoes. You would have perhaps had Newt Gingrich nude from the shoulders down.
I don't think anybody wants to see
think
that.
so? No, it wasn't. It was. Everyone always says that no one reads editors' letters, and they read that one. So what are you gonna say? It worked for the time being, but.
Now, what is the Monica Lewinsky poem that is in here? Explain this.
Oh, do we have to? I guess we should.
Well, we should.
What we happen to have someone who sent us Monica Lewinsky's poem that she wrote in 9th grade. Actually, not in 9th grade, when she was a 9-year-old. And I know I'm going to rot in hell eternally for this, but can I maybe just give
Read
it a sample?
Yeah, give a sample.
Okay. It was written. The poem is a poignant rumination on how, quote, I can be a delicious lunch, dinner, or breakfast if you're weird. She goes on to describe herself, quote, as a round and flat piece of dough with lots of topping. I am a mouth's best friend. I make you say yum yum.
It's amazing how kids know at a young age what they're going to do with their life. Well, this here is the. Now, this was fascinating because this is a
You like
great
that?
sort of reference book. Yeah. Just looking up odd things. It's a book of celebrity lists. What is your?
Political
I'm sorry,
lists.
political list.
Political celebrity.
It's almost the same.
Yeah.
What is your favorite? What is your favorite?
Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, we tried to basically have a kind of a resource book about politics that also had some funny things in there, and so that the whole problem with politics is people often think that it's dull and boring, and they don't really appreciate some of the drama or some of the history or some of the funny parts. So there are everything from code names of presidents to Jimmy Carter's list of 10 favorite desserts that he insisted to. Richard Nixon's protocol at state dinners.
What was the women? What was it? The women that ran for
there's
president.
Women who ran for president who couldn't vote for themselves. There was, there's obviously lists of men who ran for president who shouldn't be able to vote for themselves. But the women, one of them, there were two. One of them was named Victoria Woodhull. She ran for president in 1872. No one really knows about this, but she was a free love candidate, and she had two husbands, and she got 3,000 votes. And one of her suitors was Cornelius Vanderbilt. And before she ran for president, she used to get stock tips from him. And she opened up her own brokerage house in New York and made a killing. So she was really a woman, a very modern woman way before her time.
Well, that's what's fun. It makes you realize there's nothing new, really, under the sun.
Well,
I mean, everything that's been done has sort of been done.
Yeah.
But it's very funny, just odd facts about various political figures.
Oh.
Well, listen, it's, of course, the book of political lists and, of course, Georgia Magazine. Thanks so much for coming. Really a pleasure to meet you, finally. John F. Kennedy Jr. Talk to you for a minute, but before I do, I want to thank our guest, Darrell Hammond. Thank you very much, Saturday Night Live. Thank you, very funny man. Tori Spelling, Trick is the movie. It opens Friday, and of course, Luscious Jackson. Electric Honey is the CD. I want to thank you for bearing with us tonight. I mean, it's kind of hard to do jokes when you know, terrible things happen in the news, and I think we've all were affected. And I'm trying to understand why so much. You know, I mean, for me, growing up in Massachusetts. And the Kennedys are so much a part of my life as a kid. You know, I remember my mom crying when John and Caroline were in the funeral, you know, and it sticks in your mind. And then when he came here and sat in the chair, it struck me that at what point did I think that my life would ever intersect with his life, you know? And he really made an impression on everybody here. Genuinely a nice man. I mean, all the Kennedy jokes we've done over the years, he could have been nicer and kinder, signed autographs, said hello. And then my wife and I were talking about it last night, you know, and you realize there are people that you just want to see grow old, just for the fun of it, because their life is so close to your life. You know, people like him and Princess Di, and you realize these people never really did any bad. Whenever you saw them, you smiled and you felt happy for them, and you wanted them to have a good life, you know. And for those of you that think somebody has something more than you go, oh boy, and then something tragic like this happens. So thanks for making the job easier tonight. Like I said, doing the monologue, I said, how do you go out and do a monologue? But that's the job we have to do here, and try and be silly and try and maybe cheer people up. But please don't think it's not on our minds, because if it's on your minds, it's on our minds too. So I just want to say, you know, say a prayer, and God bless him. And he was a very, very nice man. That's all. Good night, everybody.
Okay, so thank you for that. And I hope everyone wrote down a bunch of things here, and I'll start going through it. And then Greg and Justin, you jump in with your comments, maybe after each key point that I go through here. So obviously, first, again, at the beginning of the episode, he is the mystery guest, and he unveils the mystery guest, and they're playing the theme song from Unsolved Mysteries. And again, the main producer for the show Unsolved Mysteries was actually one of Jay Leno's first producers for the Tonight Show. So there's a tie-in there as well. When he first sits down there, he said, you know, Jerry Seinfeld's sitting next to him, and he says, Jerry Seinfeld's going to be moving to New York too. Do you have any tips for him? Tips is a hotline. Does anyone remember in particular for what?
Crime.
No.
Yeah, crime.
Crime. Oh, okay.
But
You guys are too young.
yeah, but missing children. Missing children was the origins of the tips hotline. And so if you've got any tips for Jerry Seinfeld, and then, you know, he says, well, you know, there's a good soup kitchen, you know, over on Fifth Avenue or whatever. He's, oh yeah, what's the guy?
Store.
Soup store. He said, yeah.
Suit.
No, soup, because he was making reference to the soup Nazi episode. And so he says, so yeah, he's, you know, kind of ill-tempered and stuff. So then you need to note that, so he starts by Jay Leno, which is following orders on this episode and reading from cue cards, starts it with tips, and then it's referencing the Soup Nazi episode to Seinfeld and Jerry Seinfeld, and basically saying these are the Nazis, and he's part of the real Nazis, which are the Jesuits, which is the group that runs Hollywood and the television industry as well. So
when you can just see the look on Jerry's face when he's saying that. I mean, you can't fake that. You know, you can't. He's trying to fake and be comical about it, but it's just look of pure, you know, like holy shit.
Yeah. He was sick to his stomach. I mean,
yeah, he definitely
it was
was
written all over him. I mean, just blatantly, it was right there. It was unbelievable. And how, you know, I just love, you know, JFK Jr., just how calm and collected and smooth he was throughout that entire thing. Just went in, even flow of energy, and just let it rip. And nothing affected him whatsoever. It's amazing. Just a cool, savvy, utterly just brilliantly intelligent man. Just blows me away every time.
And so ready, hey guys, like you could just see at that point, he was so ready to start this other role, to start this, you know, that other phase to his life. And boy, he, like you say, he was on top of his game. And what I would suggest is that Junior made it sure to Leno to make sure that Seinfeld did not know who the mystery guest was. Because you see, Seinfeld was off his guard the entire night. He had no idea, in my opinion, that's how I see it. He had no idea that was going to be JFK Jr. And then JFK Jr. is just taking shots at him. And then the looks from Seinfeld got worse and worse and worse. His fake laugh just became almost utter horror and I just wish, you know, that other 7 minutes wasn't scrubbed, because there were a couple of shots of Seinfeld where there was no laugh. There was just like absolute horror on two shots back over to Seinfeld during this thing on the Clintons, because again, Seinfeld is owned by the Clinton Foundation. You don't get a show like that, and you don't have that kind of reach without being controlled. And you're controlled through the Clinton Foundation. There's just no two ways around it, especially in that era.
And just while since we've got an army of really intelligent people sitting here with us, if anyone can find that video clip with the extra 7 minutes in there, please send it our way. We looked high and dry all day today and couldn't find it, but you guys are the best, and so if anyone can find it, you guys can, so let us know.
Yeah,
just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin, for that. And we did. And it's time that I could have spent going into the book to find those sections on the Clintons, because they're in the book. I'll be talking about it today, so you will be able to find it, but I had no time to be able to do that. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, everyone, but a special hello to Yvonne. We love you so much, Yvonne. Wiznosis, yeah, Tiffany, Maureen, I mean, everybody. And
everybody's
they all love
here.
Greg and
Siobhan, Kristen, Giardia, Ichabod.
All of our usual freak sense suspects.
I know, and they're all so brilliant. Like, they're all so brilliant, right? Like, it's crazy.
Right.
It is. It's crazy. So then the next thing that takes us to, your family has a great tradition in politics. You know, have you ever thought about getting into politics yourself? And he said, well, when you're the editor of a political magazine, it's kind of like being in politics, but then not being in politics at the same time. Sort of like being a vice president. Because no, that's a double whammy. That's a double whammy, because that's taking a shot at I think at Lyndon Johnson, who was part of a group that helped to set up his father. So again, Lyndon Johnson, you're sort of, you know, one leg in politics and one leg in the cabal and in the corporate world, which he absolutely was. It was just ridiculous. And then also, of course, hinting, because you also have to remember that the February 1997 edition, that was the future edition of George Magazine, was referencing re-entering the political platform, and mentioned vice president in 2020, and that George would come back through the time machine in the year 2020 to re-emerge upon the political platform. And then, of course, the magazine cover was a full moon over Mount Rushmore, and then you do some checking on that, and it was going to be a full moon on July 4th over Mount Rushmore. And then that's what we did. We didn't say that JFK was going to come out and announce himself as vice president. We're just simply saying that that's what the decoding of
we were
that magazine.
hoping.
Well, for sure, everybody was, and I think a lot of people got their hopes up with that and expressed some frustration when it didn't happen. But again, who was that on top of George Washington that day doing "My cup is full, Jesus Christ, my cup is full" upon George, the owner editor of George magazine? I mean, nobody's allowed up there.
Yeah. But now looking back upon all of this, you see how he could not have come out, and he will not come out until it's completely safe for them and their entire families. This whole thing, it's just gotten bigger than we ever could have imagined, right? How intricate this plan is, and how huge it has to be in order to bring all of these demons to justice and to show the people exactly what's been going on and to what depth the depravity has gone. So as this progresses and we see how they're really starting to capture all of the bad guys and corral them literally into Washington, D.C. and all of these other, little swamps in other areas of the world. It's huger than we ever imagined. Yeah. So as we look back, we can see why they didn't do the things that we all just thought they should do instantly, because we wanted this to end, right? And the COVID thing, we were all waiting for COVID to just end at November 3rd, because November 4th, Trump would win and blah, blah, blah. And that didn't happen. And some people are in more major lockdowns, and we're just like, wow, this thing is huge. And they're using all of these things in layers for the betterment. So they know the plan and we don't. But
exactly. And then there's stuff coming through Charlie Ward in terms of the video being released, and of course obviously faked, as was so evident in so many aspects of the inauguration, because there were so many issues. Remember also with the inauguration, really quickly, again, Biden was sworn in at 11:50, so Trump was still president, and it wouldn't matter anyways because this is under the Insurrection Act. But again, it's another technicality, and so he couldn't be sworn in at 11:50, and then the Bible that he was reading from was upside down, and the cross on it was an upside down cross, so he's a Satanist. And then he had a red tie and then a blue tie, I think, and then his wife had a red jacket and then a blue jacket. And then there was one scene where Biden was about 2 feet tall, and
Hillary was smaller.
Oh no, it's Hillary. It was Hillary.
Yeah. How do you shrink like that?
Yeah. Santa Surfing's latest episode, and she always does a great job. She did a lot of good ones. So check out her latest episode if you want to see those.
Yeah. Very in depth.
Yeah. So, and again, what they're just trying to show you again is that they're in charge, and the sloppiness of this transfer of power. And again, there's nothing to transfer over to. And again, key lines that keep popping up, like we've been sharing over the last couple of days. Semper Fidelis. What does that mean? Who swears by it? Who lives by it? Who is that loyalty directed to, and who is it not directed to? He has no control over the military. The military are in complete control, so he has control over nothing. And again, these are the three sinkholes on Earth: Vatican City, Washington, D.C., and the financial district of London. And it's so funny with their little stories about space and trying to create, this narrative of space to keep us disconnected from who we are, what our task is to do here, and then to be fearful all the time over, and aliens are going to be invaded all the time. And so what's the point of even trying? Or, doing any work. You're just going to get eaten by an alien anyway. So, but these wormholes in space are the three sinkholes or wormholes on Earth. Because again, and by the way, that's why those three cities and the boundaries of those three cities are very, very small, because they're terrified of having a foothold on God's land, the dry land. That's why they're in Venice at sea, to absolve themselves from all of this by being on sea. And they don't go there. Their minions are there, but they've told their minions that as long as they do all of their witchcraft and dark spells, black magic within these sinkholes, within these wormholes, that they will be protected, and that these are, they are. A lot of people don't know how small Washington DC is, or how small the financial district of London is, or even the Vatican City. These are not big areas for obvious reasons, because again, these are the Canaanites, and they know all about Nimrod and the Tower of Babel, because Nimrod is just another name for Baal, which is their god. So they're very concerned about these things, and so really, what these wormholes in space are, the wormholes beneath the ground, and underneath each of these places, they lead to superhighways that take you to the very heart of evil, to all the other two cities, and of course to Rome. But again, above the surface, these demons really have roosted in four places. That's Venice, Vatican City, Washington, D.C., and the financial district in London. Then their entire other realm is below ground. And it totally is. Out of the light, vampires, out of the light, yeah, stay in their coffins. And then they have this technology that can't be observed. And that's the key, because one of the biggest things that separates us from them, and they always felt ensured that they could never be defeated, is that they had at least 100-year head start on us, if not 200-year head start on us on technology. And as I released on that show with Mark Devlin, it wasn't until sort of late in this process that the military came across access to some of their technology, and this really shifted the tide. And then the second component to that was when all of the surveilling devices were finally given over to the military through the NSA. And then this entire massive spying apparatus was handed to the military, which in turn, they then turned on the cabal themselves, and in particular, their minions. And this is the steps that were, started to take them down. So I just wanted to make those points again about these three wormholes, sinkholes to hell. That's what they are. And with regard to Biden entering into it, it means nothing. That's not part of the United States. And you should not feel bad about Biden going into the White House. The White House was always demonic, satanic. It's from an Illuminati family from the beginning.
Did you guys notice they call the one area that they walk through the crypt?
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't ever pay attention to the.
Here come the Clintons now. They're just exiting the crypt.
And I'm like, of course they are.
Wow. Wow. How appropriate is that? Good commentary.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving back into this now, we get to a poem. Now, it's very interesting because this poem is entitled Pizza. JFK doesn't say that. Now, the inference is so obvious if you just listen to it, right? I am a lump of dough with many toppings on it. But the title of that poem by Monica Lewinsky when she was 9 years old is Pizza. And he doesn't say that because he wasn't ready to drop Pizzagate just yet, right? That wasn't until 2013.
But he did.
But he foreshadowed it. He foreshadowed it big time. So then the next thing is the Monica Lewinsky poem about pizza, and that I make your mouth say yummy. And this is horrific. This is horrific. And they're able to kind of make a joke out of it because of the details that came out of the White House about Clinton Gate, Sex Gate, Cigar Gate, with regard to Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. But if you just took one tiny step back from those statements, it is a massive, massive reveal, a deep reveal. And that's the first look at Jerry Seinfeld when they flashed over to Seinfeld, that he had absolute horror on his face when he's talking this poem from Monica Lewinsky. So let's let the two of you.
Yeah, I mean that poem was just basically using all of the Pizzagate terminology and throwing all of their code words out there, out in the open. And so for anyone within the cabal who's very much within that world, when they hear that being read on live television for all to see by JFK Jr., who they know knows. I mean, that's just blatantly calling it out, saying, "Hey, I know what y'all are doing. I know what y'all are using. I know how you use children, and especially, yeah, poor Monica, this victim who's been thrust into this position and now is having to take the fall for this too." So yeah, it was just a nod to them to say, hey, we know what sort of evil shit you guys have been doing.
Yeah.
And then Jerry's face as well. It was just pure shock. Like it cut to him, and I just couldn't help but laughing, because he's just like, he's got that wide mouth look. His teeth are about to fall out of his head, and he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, I hate to use the terminology deer in headlights, but that's essentially what Jerry looked like, or caught red-handed. I know what you're doing. I know what all of you are doing. Yeah, he literally laid it out, and even though they made light of it and they made a joke of it because they're on a live comedy show, if you really look into it and look beyond the putting all jokes aside, because this is the deepest, darkest shit you can imagine, so putting all jokes aside and make your mouth say yummy, I'm a lump of dough with many toppings. I mean, that is just the most horrifically disgusting act that I can't even I can't even put the words to it. He was calling them out on literally everything. And again, cool, calm, and collected as he was, Mr. Smooth, he made the delivery. He made the delivery and he put it out there, and no remorse for it whatsoever. I know what you're doing and I know what you've done, and I'm coming for you, and that was the look on Jerry's face, shit. Yeah, but all jokes aside, I praise JFK for doing what he did and for putting it out there the way that he did, and Monica being in that position to take the fall for all that. That's just a small outline of what these demons have done to children. Even though that was a big drop, it just goes far beyond that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. So I'm just gonna,
but thank you for bringing it up. And the first thing that we thought as well, when you hear the reference to Monica Lewinsky and the way that she wrote that, that's true, that was written by a child. And then the first thing that made us think of was all the children. We weren't thinking of Monica Lewinsky as some sort of witless 30-something-year-old that got stars in her eyes in the Oval Office.
No, that she'd been groomed since she was a child.
Exactly.
And the poor thing has been through, and what they've all been through.
Yeah.
It's sickening. Yeah. It's disgusting. And this can't happen quick enough for me to just, everything's going to be exposed, and these demons have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And we can never let this happen again. And the thing is, we don't understand, I don't think, on what level that's why it's taking so long, because they need us to know this. They need us to feel this. They need us to see this. As hard as this is for them to bring us through this, all of the stuff that's going to be disclosed. I know it seems like 20 years since we've been talking about this, but it's coming. And, just the thought of all of the younger children that have to be read into this, kids who are like 18 and 19, and just, we all have all this kind of stuff. It's just, but it's got to be, because we can never let this happen.
No,
Ever.
no, and that's why they have to.
Is like we can take down all. Sorry, they
No.
can take down all of the big heads of the cabal, but think of all the minions, all of the people that are now trying to make themselves all shiny, who still have this evil inside of them, and they're just going to slip into society again and hide themselves, and their twisted thoughts and their programming. But these are the ones that, I guess as we shine and we bring the light out, the darkness will show in others, and hopefully we can help them change that. If there's that possibility, I don't know, but this is huge. It's the left brain, it's the ego, it's everywhere.
Yeah, thank you for that, everyone. Collywog, that's so good. Greg, you were going to comment while Colleen was saying that.
Oh, yeah, it's just speaking to what she was speaking of, and I understand that there's a lot of frustration out there as to how this is playing out, but they have to show us. They have to let it play out in this way, because if they don't, if they don't get this right and they miss one little detail, the repercussions are massive, because we won't learn. Okay, we have to see this for exactly what it is: pure evil, just pure unreprehensible evil. We have to see it for what it is, and not just see it, but we have to feel it energetically as well, or else we just won't learn. Okay, if they just tell us, well, this has been going on for such and such a time, and blah blah blah, yeah, there'll be some people that are upset about it, but they won't rise up to change. They won't rise up to say, hey, this is wrong, this is unacceptable, and I won't stand for this in any society whatsoever, in any lifetime. I won't stand for this. They won't, because it'll just be another thing on the news, and it'll be, oh, well, that's a shame. That's really sad, but what can I do? It's not my problem. Okay. Because that's what they've been doing. That's what the cabal had been doing. They just been, they release stuff on the news, and this happened to that child and that happened to that child. Everyone goes, oh, what a shame. I'll say a prayer. But then nothing changes. Nothing changes.
That's right.
They are doing this so that change can be and will be made, because the change will start with us. That's why we're being pushed. That's why we're being lovingly just shoved right over the edge, because we have to make the change within ourselves. We have to rise up and say, enough. I will not stand for this ever. Not here, not there, not in any lifetime, not in a past, present, or a new lifetime. I won't stand for this. It is wrong, and I will not tolerate it. That's why they're doing this. They need us to make the change with ourselves, because that's where it starts. That's where it starts. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, because we didn't know, but nevertheless, because we gave away our power, this is why it happened. This is why it happened, and we cannot do that anymore. The change starts with us. That is why they're playing it out the way it is, because it has to start at home. It starts here in the heart. It starts in the soul. We have to change. And if we don't, this will it'll creep back again and again and again and again and again. So they are making sure that we learn. They're making sure that we learn damn well good that this is wrong, and that we can never, ever let it happen again.
Yeah, it's part of God's law. enacting. You know, it's not necessarily anyone's fault, but in a way, we do have to take responsibility for what we allowed to continue, what we allowed to happen underneath our noses. We turned a blind eye. At some point, we said, "I'm going to remain willfully ignorant of what's happening. I'm going to choose to turn a blind eye to that." And so from that, we incurred a karmic response, and God's law requires a balance. And within that, we have to restore that balance. And so this is part of that rebalancing of, we have to learn about it. We have to experience that pain to some degree to completely understand what we did, what we allowed, and so with that we never allow it to happen again. So that every man, woman, and child is extremely vigilant. You know, we at every opportunity to say, to be looking and sharing and teaching your children and your children's children and your children's children's children about how this cannot be allowed to happen. We have to be vigilant. We have to always be mindful of these demons that will always be hiding there. They will always be behind the shadows, and we have to purge them, eliminate them every single time that they pop up, like a weed. You know, get rid of them. And you know, that might sound rough. That might sound, like too much. But if we don't take that hard stance, then it's just going to come back. We have to decide. That's the point of this existence, is to decide, I'm going to stand in right action. I'm going to cast my net to the right. And if you're not actively casting your net to the right, you are allowing that evil to continue. And we have to be blunt about that. We have to be direct.
Both of what you said is just so perfect and bang on, because remember, these demons still think they can win this. Now, I've shared this on a number of occasions, but not for a few weeks. So let me say this again. They are the Luciferians, okay? So the Luciferian agenda is out there. And that's why there has to be an outer space, and that's why there has to be an aliens. That's why there has to be the Big Bang. That's why there has to be linear time. That's why, there has to be only, one lifetime, and it's heaven or hell, and all these things. Everything that they do is an out there force. And so that you're just a victim, and you live in absolute fear, including of God, because you don't want to get on the wrong side of that. You got, one kick at the can, and then it's either heaven or hell. And, unless you're rich and you got some extra money kicking around, you can spend some money on indulgences, and, you can get back to heaven with some money. That would be nice. But us poor people, we, don't have that kind of money. So I guess we're going to go to hell. So this whole thing is all about, being on the right side of what we're doing. And that's why they scare us into that sort of mindset, because we're victims to everything out there. It's all out there. It's never in there. It's never inside of you. And so now they know they're being taken down, and everything foreshadowed that they would be taken down with a Christ-like figure and a King Cyrus-like figure. So they're well aware that eventually 45, who is 777, would team up with 55, who's 888, and that they would come after them, because it's all foretold before. But they have an out for this, and that out for us is us. Because you see, this is, they're calling it World War IV, because they're saying with the Soviets, Russia during Reagan, that was actually World War III. I call it World War III, whatever. But the bottom line is that the greatest weapon in this war has been mind manipulation, and the greatest victims of this war are the ones that are still living. It's things have been so bad that it's almost a mercy for those that were killed during this war, versus then us that have been left to suffer through the endless mind fuckery that has gone on by these fucking demons. This is evil beyond description. And so they've left a ticking time bomb behind, and that's us. It's truly us. And if we can't cross that river, and that's why, Greg, what you said is so great, because honestly, it probably does start with the children, this casting thy net to the right and getting on the right-hand side of things. It does start with the children, and then we can begin to take steps with ourselves. But if we don't change, then 50 years from now, and they start to come back again, and they begin to get access within the media again, and they begin to establish certain narratives again, and they begin to introduce a little bit of fear again, then this all happens again. Nothing is won yet. We've only just been given a chance, but the work has to start. And that's the big thing that, you know, all of us here are all a part, that this is a gift, that we have a chance to get it right, but we have to get this right.
Our jobs are just beginning.
Just beginning.
The swamp may be drained in the big picture, but we got a lot of work to do societally wise. I don't know what word, our communities. We have a lot of work to do to reprogram, relearn.
Yeah.
All of these,
True.
like Charlie says, these ticking time bombs, they're in our head. We've got the pornography from the TV, from the music videos. We've got all of that in our head, and it pops up randomly because our left brain
Violence,
just, you know, you're feeling a little blue one day, and suddenly all these shitty thoughts come into your head, and you're like, where did that come from? Right? It's like you don't even have control anymore. They're there. These programmings, they happen to all of us because we've all been programmed. Literally all of us. Or there might be some beautiful people out there who didn't have television and were just, you know, sequestered. That's awesome, because we need you to help us get rid of all of the programming that the rest of us have. So yeah, this is it's serious business, but we can do it with love and laughter and all of that stuff. So all of that needs to be incorporated into it, but we got some work ahead of us, rolling them up our sleeves and jumping in. So this is awesome that everything's happening right now. The way it is, it's going to give us some more time to wrap our minds around what's really happening, because you don't want all of a sudden this big shock, because people will just be left, you know, devastated. So it has to follow this linear pattern, and we just know the ending's going to be great. It might be longer than we think, but Charlie says, buckle up, because things are coming.
It's the art of war, and everything that we saw yesterday is screaming telltale signs that they're ready for the stranglehold. They're ready to take them down. They're going to put them in the sleeper hold, and then then the wrestling match is over, because it's kind of been a wrestling match. So it screams the art of war, and we better buckle in. And you know, if it does happen to go as far as March 3rd, then that's 1 year from the announcement, the rollout of the pandemic, and the real sort of, full court press, and that we haven't had a chance to breathe in one entire year. It does kind of make a sense that you sacrifice one ring around your tree for a lifetime of pursuit of happiness, a lifetime of joy and happiness. You give up one ring around the tree. So there is.
I think that's what we did this year.
That's right. And that year actually ends, which kind of foreshadows the spring anyways, right? But March 11, 3/11 to 11/3. And then if they do announce on 3/11 and the rollout of Nasara, then 120 days, we get a real election instead of a sting operation, which then, ties into 3/11, 11/3 and the November 3rd election. So there is a tie-in. Now, while all of this is going on, the next thing I want to throw into is that I put a note while I was going through the video earlier, and I just took note while I was watching it, that this episode was originally aired on May 14th, 1998. Does anyone want to try and do the gematria or the numerology for May 14, 1998? Think JFK and think the white hats and the resurrection of God within our existence. So May is the 5th month, and 14, 1 + 4 is 5. So May 14th is 55, and the gematria for JFK Jr., J being 10, and you just add just those letters, J, F, K, J, R, and that adds up to 55. So the gematria for JFK Jr. is 55. So May 14th is 55. And then the year is 1998, which is 27. And 2 is the mother, 7 is God intervention, and together the mother and the father intervening on our behalf is God consciousness, which is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. So there's no mistaking in those numbers either. There's just far too many coincidences. It's 559.
But why not May 5th then? Why 14?
Maybe because they couldn't do it on a May 5th. We don't know what day that is. Remember, the Tonight Show is Mondays through Fridays. It could have been a Saturday, Sunday. So it just could have been tipping their hat. But again, the 1-4 and the flip of 4-1 has a powerful play with regard to the cabal as well. So 14 makes a lot of sense with it as well. So I wanted to introduce that point as well. Now, another note that I made at the same time while he was reading that poem from Monica Lewinsky as a 9-year-old, I wrote down that JFK Jr. has the same vocal pattern as Kevin Costner. And then what I did is I quickly opened up another YouTube window and I just typed in scenes from Dances with Wolves, and it just went right to this little section where Kevin Costner's character is speaking, and you can just see it. It's the same vocal inflections. It's the same vocal manner entirely. I'm not saying that they have the same voice, although there's a similarity in their voice as well. But the vocal intentions, and overall the vocal pattern are almost identical between the two of them. And then there was something else. I watched it again, both of them again during those sections. And then I noticed that they have the same lips. If you do this for yourself, and you'll see, it's really interesting. And they kind of purse their lips the same way as well, but they basically have like the same lips. So that just came to me in the moment, and I wrote that down. So I wanted to share that with you. We don't know what this means at one point.
Could be a body double.
But what we do know about Kevin Costner is that his movie career from No Way Out, because when you do a little more digging and research on that movie, No Way Out, which seems like a throwaway in the beginning, it isn't. The No Way Out is essentially telling what it's like for these 3-letter operatives that are caught in these 3-letter agencies that are capitalistic controlled, and then there's no way out. So even that one was foreshadowing all the stuff. And then Costner takes all these roles and he puts all his own money into these movies that are getting these messages across that are so important to us. And again, all the baseball movies and all the references that the beautiful game of baseball, which is an ode to the game of life, the one story and the journey of man and the connection to God, has been destroyed, been ruined. Every Kevin Costner baseball movie shows you that the game has been ruined by these demons behind the scenes and money. And Shoeless Joe Jackson and Build It and He Will Come. What's that one again? Field of Dreams. And Shoeless Joe Jackson said, when he first came back, he just looked around and stuff, and he said, "Man, I'd have played for day money." And then he started to sniff his glove, and he was looking at the grass, and he said, "Shoot," he said, "I'd have played for nothing." And that is a huge aspect to that movie as well, because that's what these games are for. They're to be played for the love of the game, as Greg so beautifully spoke the other night about this. And so you just look at Kevin Costner and all these movies, again, Waterworld, which, is...
Well, let's hope they've all been working together.
Yep. Well, how else?
Wiznosis says, "Charlie, I think John John's a great actor and he could study people like a method actor." And of course he has.
Absolutely.
Right? He's been the greatest actor in Master of Disguise. And I think all of the Q team and all of the, who was it? The Q on Galt. Yeah. And I started looking at John John's lips again. And then I saw Q on Galt. And I remember he had these very thin upper lip. And I'm like, absolutely could be him.
Yeah, and then there was a drop showing a mask, a lifelike mask of Q-on Galt, and it was just sitting on this table, an ode that at least once that JFK Jr. played in that role. So maybe a lot more than once, but again, it's the master of disguise. But again, just quickly going back to Kevin Costner, again, he made, you know, the Oliver Stone movie JFK, which really pushed the narrative forward in a lot of ways. He was Jim Garrison, and in the movie 13 Days, he put his own money up to make the movie about the Cuban Missile Crisis. And he was, you know, the Kennedy boyhood friend that was their White House advisor, Kenny O'Donnell in that movie as well. And then Waterworld, which is telling you the Phoenicians and the pirates of the high seas, or the Phoenicians, and then the postmaster for the obfuscation of the real United States into the corporation of the United States in 1871, and the hiding of all of the flag and all of these actual real documents about the Republic of the United States of America hidden in the Postmaster General's office and stuff. And you just go through all of these movies, The Bodyguard, John Galt, right? So there's just no, how many coincidences do you need before you see that it's mathematically impossible to have this many coincidences? Not a coincidence. This is Sun Tzu. It's the art of war. It's the master of deception. It's the master of disguise. And that's what we're seeing in real time. So those are some of the notes. Today, Pompeo tweeted 1,384 days, flipped the 84 to 48, 1348 days ago from today is May 14, 2017. May 14, 2017. Yeah, very, very, very interesting. And yes, what a complicated mess it is, because that's what the cabal and the left brain does. It turns everything into a complicated mess. It's
facts,
just
figures, and logic. It's what happens.
It is. And they vomit facts, figures, and logic everywhere. They spew it in every direction. So I wanted to point those things out because I wrote those two things down at that point. Now, then they talk about the magazine after Monica Lewinsky, and then Jay Leno points out that, you know, they had other sort of celebrities that were involved with the cover, and then JFK Jr. points out, well, we've always wanted you, Jay, to be on one of the covers as well, and we just happen to have a copy here, and it's Jay Leno in drag. It's Jay Leno in drag, and then Jay Leno, his response to this, he goes, "Oh, well, I'm a busty woman." And I've been busted. We're busting celebrities. Yep.
Yep. On many levels, actually.
Yep.
Right.
We're busting celebrities tonight. And that also brings me to another point. Right at the beginning, I must have skipped over it here, but John F. Kennedy Jr., when he was first talking with Jerry Seinfeld, was just saying that you know, there's an old adage in politics, you have to be very careful about who you follow in politics, and then he quickly shoots the look back over to Jerry, and then I think that was the first one where Jerry is really taken back, because he's connected to the Clinton Foundation. There's just no two ways about it. You have to be very careful about who you're connected to in politics. And that was right off the top of the show, from Junior to Seinfeld. I couldn't believe it. So, okay, so I've dumped a whole bunch more stuff there. Before we move forward, Greg and Justin, I want you guys to just chime in on any and all of that if you like.
Greg, you go first.
All right. Yeah. Well, first of all this decoding is just amazing. But I know in my inner knowing and in my heart and soul that JFK Jr. is alive. And reason being is because we're both Sagittariuses. So, and if I were to do this, I would do it the exact same way. I would follow the exact same protocol, the exact same play, the exact same plan. Because as I've said before, and I'll say it again, Sagittariuses don't get mad. They get even. And this is exactly what he's doing. helping to level the playing field. Even Steven. Not going to get mad. Cool, calm, and collected. Mr. Smooth. I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to call you out, brilliantly and secretively, but I'm still going to put it out there on who you are and what you're doing. And I know what you're doing, and I'm going to let you know about it. But I'm going to do it nicely, and I'm going to do it, with a little joke here and there. Again, Mr. Smooth. So I know that he's alive. And another thing about the 5-5, when I decoded that a while back, ever since then, I've been seeing 5-5, 5-5, 55 past the hour, 55 past the hour, 55 past the hour, 55 past the hour. That is divinity at work. That's the universe telling me, confirming to me that he's there, he's alive. That's our energies connecting. I just know it. I just know it. It's just, it's overwhelming, but it's amazing stuff. And as for the Kevin Costner connection, I have no doubt that those two were chatting and working together to help drop, hints here and there. Yep. It's amazing. It's just amazing when you look back at all these films that, people thought were hogwash, how they have such deeper meaning. And they were calms for us to wake up and to recognize what was really going on in the world. It's unbelievable. And yeah, Justin, I'll pass it to you, buddy.
Yeah, so I don't have a ton on this specific segment, but I would just comment on how this particular clip, and it'd be interesting to study to see how often it was done, because we know how much the cabal uses their symbolism and their numerology to send little notes to each other and encode things and send messages and all that kind of stuff. But this interview was a perfect example of that being flipped around and saying, hey, we see you, and we know your language, we know what you're doing, we know how you're talking to each other. And with just that confirmation from Jerry Seinfeld of just like that, oh shit, like that's the collective cabal face that they were experiencing when they had this divine man stepping forward and saying, hey, working with Jay Leno, who was also working divinely as well, to say, hey, we know what game y'all been playing, and the jig is up. We're coming for y'all. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say on that part.
Yeah. And,
okay. Now let me throw this in. If you take the time, which I did, to freeze frame when the magazine came out, because I started to watch the next section, and then I thought, wait a minute, no. That he held the magazine for a little bit. There has to be a calm. So I went back, and it's hard to see because it's taken from a VCR and the quality is tough, and I just couldn't see it all because there was something underneath it as well. But in the top left-hand corner of the special magazine with Jay Leno in drag on the cover, and he's a busty woman, and Jay Leno says, yeah, celebrities are being busted. Yeah, so is that how the Kennedys own Jay Leno and force Jay Leno to do these things because he's a cross-dresser, and they're
So
pointing
you don't
that
think
out?
he could be a white hat at all?
He could be, but there's an infinite number of ways to tie Jay Leno into political figures in history, right? I mean, they could have tied him into Thomas Jefferson. He could have tied him into a host of other characters, but Martha Washington. And then he goes on about you could have no clothes on underneath your suit, but he first said it about Jay.
Yeah.
Behind your desk, he said you could have no clothes on underneath there, because Jay tries to get his way out of this by saying I remember you in the magazine cover, and there was an image of you completely naked and stuff, and then immediately Junior turns it right back on Jay and says, well, you could have nothing on underneath there. You could just have that and have nothing on underneath that. And then he referenced it to Newt Gingrich as well. And then Jay Leno says, no, nobody wants to see that. So is that how they own Newt? Is that what Newt was doing? And Newt was a pants dropper to little boys. Is that what Jay was doing? Again, you know, there's an infinite number of ways to tie Jay Leno into historical figures, but a busty Martha Washington, and then Jay says, you know, this is about busted celebrities.
So, and not forgetting that you can't get to those positions by being in the Tonight Show and all that other, if you haven't been compromised. So
Yeah.
So this is what Greg and Justin are pointing out to you, is the calmness and the savvy of Junior doing this to both sides while he's on this show in front of millions and millions of people. And he's just in his element. He's just so calm and he's so relaxed, revealing all of this stuff. It's incredible. He was playing them both so well. So when you look at this cover, I freeze framed it. What does it say? It says special election issue. I'm not kidding you. Go back and look at it yourself. The cover that he brought out of the fake George magazine with busty Jay Leno on the cover says special election issue, and then below it it says looking for the perfect president. Special election issue, looking for the perfect president. Now, what was the name of that documentary that Jennifer Mack made recently with 107? What was that called? What was that called?
The Called.
It was called The Called, The Makings of a Perfect Day by 107.
And how he wanted to make Trump a perfect day for him.
Yeah,
somewhere.
and yeah, so
Till he ate all the preserves.
That's right. And so
Which
so
I probably would have done that too.
special election issue and the search for the perfect president. Is that not a massive drop about Jay Leno,
Oh, he's
or
my
sorry,
best friend.
about Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump, who's his best friend, and that, you know, Donald Trump from 1997, a year earlier, from 1997 onwards, was just campaigning. He was campaigning nonstop, Larry King and everybody else. From 1997 onwards, it was game on for Donald Trump and getting ready for 2016. It was.
And we were all
absolutely was.
still under the spell and we didn't see any of it. But
Yeah.
looking back now, we can see the signs.
Yeah. So special election issue in search of the perfect president on that show. I mean, holy shit, the cons. Because you see, the thing you have to remember is that JFK knows that's going to be his last major network television appearance. So you got to get all of these comms out there while you can, right? So that's another huge comm. A couple of comms that he dropped there. Now, politics.
Someone mentioned the golden peach preserves. Yeah. That would be what, Georgia peach?
Yeah.
Say Georgia. Mhm.
Mm.
Perhaps.
Or it's bolded or capitalized golden reserves. So gold reserves.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Reserve.
good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Very nice. And then
Chabukala.
the other point
Nice.
that I was going to make here was that in the section when Jay Leno was 3 days after the apparent death of John and Carolyn on July 19th, Jay Leno at the end of his show said how difficult this was for him. And by the way, he first said goodnight to 3 complete Satanists that were on the panel. And
Troy
then
Spelling.
yeah,
Spelling.
the
Oh,
Saturday
yeah.
Night Live guy, I forget his name, but they're all just Satanists. And so then he talks about what a good person, what a nice person John F. Kennedy Jr. was, and how some people you just want to see grow old. You know, he never caused any harm. You know, he said, it makes me think of Princess Diana. You know, and it was really weird because Jay Leno made so many, like a lot of things. If you go back and listen to that again, a lot of what Jay Leno says makes no sense. And I haven't had the time to go back and listen to it again and again and again, because I just saw that section for the first time today. but I'd have to go back and piece those things together, because it's almost like Jay was told to say those things because there's a lot of non-descriptors, a lot of non sequiturs that are in that. He's saying, if you guys remember, he's saying a lot of really nonsensical things during that section. Now, you could just chalk it up to the fact that he was highly emotional during that, and he was kind of just babbling on kind of thing, or those are comms. Because a lot of things that he was saying just weren't making sense. But it was very interesting how he points out that these were nice people, which implies that in this world is filled with a lot of not nice people, and that there are some people that you just want to see grow old, implying that there's a lot of people that you don't want to see grow old. And that, just like Princess Di, they never did anything to hurt anyone. It never caused any harm to anyone, implying that there are a lot of famous people that all they do is cause harm to other people. There's a lot of implications in what he was saying as well. So there's a lot of comms with that as well. So
and that there are a lot of good people that haven't been allowed to grow old because they are nice and do good things for people.
Yeah.
That same sort of same sort of message.
Yeah, I think that could have been his little capitulation to the good guys, by saying what he said there, indicating, geez, there's good people out there, there's bad people out there, because again, we don't officially know with Jay Leno, as you said, Charlie. There's so many ways to tie him back into all this horrible stuff, but by him saying that on that night, he could have been capitulating a little bit to the good side.
Yeah, or he's playing a role and just pointing out, how they're showing the truth in plain sight as well. But again, if you're going to introduce Leno into this, like there's a lot of male and goodly figures that are in that as well. Now, this takes us to this next segment of the show, and that was Scrubbed, and that's the 7 minutes. And so you're going to be able to find this, and I really apologize because I needed to have the time this afternoon to find these pages in the book, but we're going to give you the link, thanks to Justin and his great work. I'm going to give you the link to this book, which Justin is right. We started to take a look at the prices of this book for sale on various platforms, and it was insanity. It truly was insanity. And so this is a great find by Justin, and thank you. But on the 7 minutes that got scrubbed, it was all about the Clintons. So they get into the book. Jay Leno brings out the book, and they just talk about some basic things you heard, like the 10 desserts that Jimmy Carter wanted, and the 10 protocols that Richard Nixon had when foreign dignitaries visited the White House and whatnot. But they got into some other lists, and he said, so for example, here we've got lists about past and present presidents and their political campaigning history and stuff. And he said, for example, we've got one section that's dedicated to our current president, which at the time was Bill Clinton. And he said, so what we did is a section on our current president and showed all the times that our current president lost an election. Wow, because what's he pointing out? Bill Clinton's a loser. Bill Clinton is not someone who has that Kennedy charm. That's how the cabal and the mainstream media tried to portray Bill Clinton, who I always thought was really creepy. But they tried to portray him as, his favorite president was JFK, and that he had that JFK swagger. And it's like, I never saw that, but the mainstream media kept saying that and saying that and saying that, which, by the way, is a good reason why you create this false narrative that JFK was a womanizer, cheated on his wife, and was risking American sovereignty by having sex with, mobster girlfriends and whatnot. It's just not the truth at all. It is not the truth. I have done so much research on this, and there's zero evidence to support that any of that is true. It is absolutely not true at all. But it is a story that they put out there because you have to attack these angels somehow, some way. Right? I mean, they started to do that about Martin Luther King as well. Basically the same thing. So it's just par for the course with these people. So what does that tell us if on the Jay Leno Tonight Show that's a big book. That's a lot of pages. And then during the show, he points the current president, which is Bill Clinton, Clinton Foundation, and how many elections he lost. And he says, so let's take a look here. And he goes, and back to grade 5, Bill Clinton ran for class president and lost. I remember when I first watched that, it was just like, oh my God, you are just like, because remember, they're alive. Everyone's alive. So everything's in play. And that's on national. That's the highest rated show on late night TV was Jay Leno's Tonight Show. And that's JFK Jr. just going boom, right in his forehead to Bill Clinton going, what are you going to do about that? And he pointed out 5 different elections that Bill Clinton lost. So what he's saying is Bill Clinton is a loser. Bill Clinton is a cheat. And that what he's also foreshadowing is that it's election fraud. Right? And that's when all this election fraud started in earnest, was with the Clintons, because that's the first time that California, which had always voted heavily with conservative values and the Republicans, suddenly swung big time to the Democrats. So did Oregon. And again, like I just said, as a kid growing up, because I was good at sports, I spent a lot of my summers at camps or being invited to train and play with different American teams for baseball and football. And so I was in Washington State, Oregon State, and a lot in California, and billeted with a lot of those families. And they were just what I always saw with Americans, which were just true blue patriots. And they would have given you, and they did, they gave me the shirt. They never made me feel, missing Canada or missing my parents or missing home or feeling far away from home or anything. They just made you feel part of the family. That's sort of what Americans are all about. And it's just, my experience in Washington State, Oregon, and California is just conservative family values. And then, so, what do we find out with a lot of stuff that was released in this election fraud from this election? California went big time for Trump, and then boom, it always has. It never hasn't. So the election fraud started big with the Clintons. That's how they got this loser, 5-time loser, into the White House, by cheating on the elections. And so on that show with Jay Leno, what's JFK Jr. with a plain face to all of America, he's saying Bill Clinton's a loser. And I'm going to point out all the way back to his grade 5 attempt to be class president, and he loses. That's just like throwing salt right in your eye. I loved it. I love that. That was brilliant. And then it segues, and it got really dark, because there's a section in this book that talks about everyone who's died in relation to a political scandal investigation of the Clintons. Now, that's in that book.
A body count.
A body count. I remember that. That was in that interview. That's what really got scrubbed. And then like the looks on Jerry Seinfeld's face. At that point, what I seem to remember inside me with Seinfeld is like, who are you? Because at this point, it's not about scaring me. Who are you? Do you have any idea who these people are? Because what you're doing now is a death sentence. Exactly. That's what I just, I apologize for not being able to find this unedited.
Well, if you'd contacted 107, he would have given it to you. I'm sure he had a copy.
I'm sure he probably would have.
Here, I'm pulling up that page just to show people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this is the book that I'm going to be posting the link for.
Wow.
But yeah, here you can see that, just here, right, in a book that's from a very popular magazine released. And keep in mind, this was before the internet was really a big thing. So it was really difficult to research information and get stuff out. So having this kind of stuff in print with these names out there, with descriptions of how they died and why they died, and very clearly just written, the Clinton body count. So that's just planting that in people's minds.
And look at them all.
and
Look at them all.
JFK Jr. was sort of saying with the Clintons, if you piss off the Clintons, don't travel by plane or train, or no, it was plane or car, because a lot of bad things seem to happen to people in planes and cars.
Yeah.
If they diss the Clintons. I mean, wow. So of the two things to pull out on the Jay Leno show, most popular nighttime show in all of mainstream television,
including car crashes, plane crashes,
skiing accidents. But so on the show, he actually called out the car crashes and the plane crashes, and he said, yeah. And then Jay Leno was sort of laughing about it. He said, yeah, it seems like, don't get into a car or a plane if you piss off the Clintons or something like that. That's fucking the Jay Leno show. That's the Jay. So what we're trying to show tonight is that this is JFK Jr., Sun Tzu, the art of war, the master of disguise, going, I need to get underground now. Try and kill me now. What are you guys waiting for? Take me out now. Because he did everything on this show to provoke the Clintons into doing something. And then they did.
And he was also going to run, right? He was going to run in politics. So they had to take him out at that point.
Yeah, that's right. Up against Hillary. Yeah. That's right. And you can bet your bottom dollar that they're in New York because they had been surveilling the Clintons and surveilling, Hillary's plan to seek the Senate seat in New York. And then suddenly JFK Jr. is running for the Senate seat in New York. Now, if that was open to a fair vote, who would have got that nomination for the Democrat running for the Senate seat in New York? 99% to 1 for JFK Jr. And her political career is over because you can't come back from losing your own party nomination for something like a Senate seat. So her political career is over.
They needed to seal it. They couldn't have another Kennedy come in office and take out their player. So
what I want to show you tonight, without a shadow of a doubt, is that he was provoking them to do something about it, and fast and soon, because this thing needed to start. Trump was actively campaigning in 1997. This show is 1998. His plane goes down. This was May 14th, 1998. His plane goes down July 16th, 1999. So 16 months later, they're acting on, they're finally acting on this. When, he comes to his plane is wrapped in this transparent,
it's actually a unit. They say it's about the size of a dinner plate.
Wow.
And they can just put it on, and they can remote control this device too, and it takes all the power away, and they can crash the plane. So this is one of the devices that, of course, I'm sure the CIA has been using for a very long time. And so they knew all about that. So the Secret Service agents who swept the plane found it, and then they said, okay, it's go time.
So we're going to get Justin and Greg to jump in here now, but I want to just leave you guys with this. So Justin and Greg are talking about, you watch him on the show and the cool. Now I'm showing you the depth of everything that he was showing that night, right? And the cool and the calm that he showed. Now, are you telling me they got him? Are you telling me that this guy who did this and provoked them and called them out, allowed the sloppy Clintons to take him out? Or did he outfox the foxes? Because isn't that what he does? So that's what you need. So that's what this purpose of the show is tonight, is to help you right now when you need it, to know that JFK Jr. is alive and that he's absolutely the Art of War Sun Tzu character who is behind all of this. As I said to you before, and then we're going to just pass it over to these two wonderful angels, that Trump is 45 and 777, and JFK Jr. is 55 and 888. And 888 is the Greek numerology for the son of the sun. It's Jesus Christ. 55 and 888 is Jesus Christ. 45 and 777 is Cyrus. The one who was called by God to intervene and cleanse the swamp. These are the two, Q plus and R. Q is 17, R is 18, 17 and 18 is 35. JFK, his father, is the 35th president, and he's part of 17 and he's 18. He's R. He wrote the R post. And he told you who the Greys really are. So over to our wonderful angels, and for Colleen to jump in as well.
All right.
Oh.
Colleen, did you have something?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, just reiterating. I mean, this was going on national television and basically saying, hey, all of these theories that only the craziest people have looked into, I'm gonna go on national television and start talking about them, and just taunting them in front of their face. And I'll show another couple examples. I am going to post a link to the book, but I'll just give another couple of examples of things that are in it. It's like a majority of the book is fairly mundane. Like, it's just kind of interesting little lists here and there. They do it very well to sort of keep make it so at quick glance this seems just like a regular old book. But when you really look through it, like, you can really see some, huge things. So this one in particular was Bill Clinton's celebrity overnight guests in the Lincoln and other bedrooms. So it's just front and center, showing all of these people that are in bed with the cabal, in bed with politicians, and working, the lobbyists, or however you want to put it, but showing this elite club very, very clearly for all to see, and saying, hey, we know who you are, we know that you've stayed here. And I can just imagine the look on these people's faces when they saw this list was in a book. Because now, like, again, now we have the internet available to us. We have more so, like, the internet was there. You could search for things, but it wasn't really streamlined. You couldn't really search for a lot of stuff. So this was huge to have something like this being put into a major book.
Billy
massive.
Graham,
Really,
Graham, and Doris Kearns Goodwin and Richard Goodwin. Doris Kearns Goodwin and Richard Goodwin write the history books for frickin' modern America. They're the ones that tell you that JFK, while he did some good things, was a philanderer, and then write all these wonderful things about all these demonic presidents. They wrote the history of American politics. Doris Kearns Goodwin and Richard Goodwin. Billy Graham.
And if you know that if he put these names in here, he was spelling something out. And I'm just looking at these names and my eyes are just bulging out. Now, holy catfish, right? How many of these names were on the Epstein log?
Absolutely.
Right.
Most of them, I think.
Most of them, yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Danson and Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah.
Right. We heard a few years ago that they were both CIA in Hollywood, and here they're this married couple. Barbara Streisand is a witch. She's a black witch.
I've heard horrible things about her, and I used to love her. I certainly don't anymore.
David Geffen, of the Hollywood music scene, music industry.
Yeah, none of these names surprise me at all.
Yeah, well, I mean,
especially Hanks and Streisand.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people still think that Marianne Williamson is good at heart, but she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She's always has been, and it's just another confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that shows you how they infiltrate the good, the light workers, and that this whole last 2 weeks I've just been inundated with people telling me about people who are infiltrated in the light workers realm, and it blows my mind, and it just makes you start really, really, you want to discern, really, you just have to take it within, because how else can you have to ask God to give you discernment when you're now dealing with people, because they're so tricky. Marianne Williamson, you're just like, wow.
Clark
Billy
Clark Griswold is on there too. Chevy Chase.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
Saturday Night Live, my friend. Saturday Night
Yeah.
Live in the 30 Rock building in New York. That is a pathway to Satanism, and that's the only ones who got there.
And questioning. We should be questioning these people. We should be questioned. People should be questioning us, right? Like if you think we're full of shit, question us and look at our works and does it follow who we are and all of that. You need to question people because they've hidden in plain sight all over littered our culture, and we're just like, oh my God, we have to find out who they are.
Yeah.
Here's another.
Mike Myers, Austin Powers movie. I want some baby back ribs.
Yeah.
They had half of America singing, I want some baby back.
That's
Give me
sickening.
some baby. Dr. Evil, I don't want your money. Give me some babies.
Right?
Plain.
And we're laughing because he's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Disgusting.
You know, and
It is.
just really quickly, Justin, before you jump into this, I just remember again when I was a kid with the milk cartons and all those kids going missing. And I asked my mom one time, how serious should we be taking this? Because there's a lot of kids that are appearing on these milk cartons. And my mom said, I don't think this is real, because I don't think that it's possible. And I think that that's how most people just sort of look at it, that it's just too horrible to believe that this could possibly be true.
Yeah.
Well, and then you find out that the milk cartons was not really to try and find the missing kids, but it's just a catalog to sell them.
Advertising.
Like how disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, how disgusting.
And Walmart, that
Vile.
whole wall that I remember seeing those huge posters of the missing children, and you just
Yeah, it was Colleen and I who were the ones that broke and
Yeah.
revealed what Walmart was all about, and all of their advertising of these missing children, how they all came with numbers, and yep.
Well, look at Wayfair. Look at Wayfair. All their pieces of furniture were named after missing girls, missing children.
Oh, that's just coincidence, Greg.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just a crazy kook.
Yeah. What is Ellen DeGeneres doing? So isn't she like a multi-billionaire, talk show host? What is she doing stuff? What is she doing selling a pillow for $10,000? A pillow for what's in the pillow? What's in the pillow? $10,000 pillow on Wayfair.
Yeah.
So Justin, what was that list that you had up? You had it up, and
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I was just waiting for it to finish, and then so this one caught my eye because this is just proof that they knew, like Project Looking Glass, they knew what was coming, because here you've got Joe Biden as the top of the list for worst congressional attendance records in 1988. And he was listed for recovering from an aneurysm, which that in and of itself disqualifies him from running for president. That little fact right there automatically disqualifies him. But then the percentage of the votes present is just a funny little nod they got there.
it almost makes you wonder if they hadn't selected Biden, the good guys selected Biden.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
I
100%.
I don't doubt it at all.
They chose Pelosi, they chose Biden, they chose the people they wanted to work with. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they had to choose these just like horror. It's amazing that people still like them, but they're just the least likable people possible. Like, just you couldn't have picked better. Just
So many people are saying, oh, finally the economy is going to get better and we're going to be given some money because Biden's in, and you're just looking at them going, like, okay.
Yeah, really?
I can't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so yeah, I just wanted to give some snippets from the book, but yeah, I am going to be posting the link to the full book, so definitely go through and read it, because there's a lot of good interesting lists. They've got a list of of presidents who were Freemasons. They've got a list of KKK elected officials, which most of them were Democrats, and the Clinton and
have the
Bush sex scandals. They had them listed there. It's all.
Okay. Oh, okay. Also, the one that I missed that I wanted to speak to was the one thing that Leno said, and wasn't there someone about women presidents that couldn't vote for themselves or something? And he said, yeah, that's right. There were a few. And case in point was this one lady, Victoria, and I forget her last name now. And she was a free love candidate. She had 2 husbands, and she was connected to the founder of the Vanderbilt. So this is Anderson Cooper's grandfather. Okay, so this is the founder of the Vanderbilt empire of sickness and malfeasance. And so he points out that he was tied to her, and that this Vanderbilt set her up with a stock consulting firm on Wall Street, and she made a killing out of it and stuff, and that she was a free love candidate. This is all code. So this is the people and how they work, and they bring certain people into this, and then they take their children and they begin to breed their children because they need breeders. And so certain families agree for all of this wealth and fame with these really sick families to give their kids over so that these kids can become breeders for babies, and then preborn babies and all the stuff that they really want, that fat bastard wants. And so that was another huge one, and tying in the Vanderbilts, which again is Anderson Cooper. And who's his brother? What's that actor? She
the
had
redhead.
yeah
Comedian
she had the
Right.
thing where
Kathy
she
Griffin.
cut off Trump's head.
Yeah.
Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is Anderson Cooper's brother, the daughter that Gloria Vanderbilt always wanted, and then he died falling out of a window at age 25 in front of his mother. And yeah, so no, it's Kathy Griffin, and that's why Kathy Griffin just happens to hang out with the Vanderbilt family all the time. They're all together all the time there, and the Gloria Vanderbilt is like best friends in the world with this Kathy Griffin. And then she's the one famous for spending that money to get a life-like mask or head made, wax head made of Donald Trump with a severed head and blood dripping off of it and stuff like that. So wow.
Yeah, it's wild. I'll show one more just because they're fun.
Thank you.
But this one is the Clinton Whitewater scandal. So at this time, I mean, Bill Clinton was in office, and this scandal it still is difficult to find a lot of information about it. But especially at this time, it was very, very much brushed under the rug. So him putting this in the book and spelling it all out, and then the thing I want to draw attention to is this bottom note of the suicide of the Clinton aide Vincent Foster as being part of the scandal, just alluding to anyone looking into this just happens to commit suicide and those kind of things. But just pointing to, just basically throwing a middle finger up to those who were in power, the Clintons, who were the most powerful, arguably one of the most powerful families at the time.
And obviously JFK Jr. knew that Hillary was going to be put in power, and they knew they had to make their moves now. So they had to draw them out and perform all of these things. Wow. Wow.
And the other thing that another major point that I wanted to make clear tonight, I've stated this a number of times, and I think this really proves this and bears this out. Who has been behind the scenes releasing all this stuff post 9/11? Because all of a sudden, the truth community has been getting these anonymous drops about chemtrails, and then images of literally these chemtrail machines and how they fitted into commercial jetliners and stuff. and then all the stuff that came out about flat earth and all the stuff that came out about this, that, and the other thing, every single major drop and every major scandal that the truth community has been doing since 2002, they've all come anonymously from someone. This book is foreshadowing, like Justin said, and there it is ahead of really, the internet started in 95, really wasn't a big wasn't a big deal until after 9/11. Then it just exploded because people are trying to reach out to everyone via the internet. And so that's, like Justin is saying, like, that's showing you how JFK Jr. is putting out all of this detail and all of these names, everything for everyone to sort of see. He's the guy that has been doing all of these, what would you call them, like soft drops for all of this. So it's not designed to convert everybody to level Earth right now, but it's putting it out there so that everybody's heard of this flat earth theory and stuff, or that, what's this veganism? It's another one of the psyops and stuff that, shut up and let me eat my cow burger and whatnot. But again, these things are being put out there, so you've heard them. Remember what Colleen said before, if JFK wasn't, sort of, soft selling us on a lot of these different things, then these blows were just gonna, each one of these blows individually were just gonna knock us out completely. Each and every one of these would knock us out completely. There's a reason Pizzagate came out when it did, and Sandy Hoax and all this stuff is designed to show you, foreshadow what's coming, so that you have the stomach at least to stay on your feet and keep your breakfast and lunch inside of you when this stuff starts to get dropped. So I think that this is proof beyond a shadow of a doubt for me that he's been the one that has been soft selling all of these conspiracy theories, since after 9/11.
I often wondered about Eric
Yeah.
Day, maybe one of the white hats.
Well, I think Eric DeBay was given that information. There's in my mind, there's no way else. And Eric DeBay actually does have the bone structure of the Kennedy family. So just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold to what you're saying about why they do it in this sort of incremental fashion of getting it out, getting the truth out there. One, it is to acclimate so that it's not too shocking. And well, one, so it's not too shocking, so we don't lose our lunch when we read about it, but also so that cognitive dissonance doesn't just outright reject it as just ridiculous and crazy. But it's also part of this, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, kind of dropping those hints out there to get ready, and as the collective consciousness slowly starts to wake up and realize it, then more of that information can be absorbed and accepted. But you can't go all in all at once, and it's the same sort of thing with decoding these songs that have been written. It's the same sort of messages that have to be planted in there so that they're allowed to get out there. Like the way that he wrote this book, it wasn't just blasting conspiracy theories because nobody would have published it and they wouldn't have gone anywhere, but he had to sort of hide it in there and put it in strategic places so that to a normal everyday person or anyone publishing it, it's just like, oh, this is just a book of lists of politicians and things like that, like whatever. And
Brilliant, right?
yeah, but it works perfectly.
Yeah. Well, think of how the cabal has programmed us over a very, very long period of time, right? Very incremental, step by step, roadblock after roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. So how does one, JFK Jr., being the wise fox that he is, how does he gently reverse that programming the same way? Incremental drops, incremental drops here and there, here and there, here and there. Basically setting the stage, dressing the stage, getting everyone ready for the show. So that when the show, finally, takes place, it's been out there, and reiterating what Justin said, if it were just thrown out into the universe and was just dropped, it could go one way or the other. people would just lose their minds completely, or it would just simply be dismissed because it'd be just too crazy to believe. You know, people would. I can't wrap my head around this, so whatever. So it's it just speaks to his genius. It really, really does, and it speaks to his patience as well too. Going back to the art of war, that's a big aspect of the art of war is the patience aspect of that, and JFK displays that so brilliantly by just little incremental drops here and there, here and there, here and there, here and there, you know, with that, you know, with that end result of, you know, we'll get there, you know, we'll eventually get there, but and also too, he's doing it with love and compassion too, because he's not forcing the whole thing on us. He's allowing us to once again see these things, feel them, and then be empowered to again to question, like you said, Colleen, to question things and be like, okay, this sounds ridiculous, but you know what? Let me look into it. Let me research. Let me find out what's going on. Empowering us to not only find the truth, but in doing so, find our truth. I mean, it's brilliant. He literally kills thousands of birds with one stone. And it's just, it's unbelievable. It's an amazing way to reverse the slow and incremental programming that we have been under by doing the exact same thing, going the opposite direction. It's just brilliant, and it just speaks to his patience and his utter genius. And again, he's a Sagittarius. That night when he went on that show, he was locked on to what he wanted, and he was ready to hunt from behind the scenes. But nevertheless, the hunt was on, the game was on.
Yeah, Vampire Slayer, and you're so right. And Sagittarius, what were we sharing, about the great conjunction where in retrograde Jupiter and Saturn were moving right up in perfect alignment with each other, right up against Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the archer with the keen bow, and my aim is true, and that's because his aim is righteous and he never misses his mark. And Sagittarius is tied to the truth. JFK Jr. is this person, and like you guys both said, and it's just an amazing point to make, because I don't think I would have been able to have that fortitude within me, to have that level of patience that it took for him when he got old enough to allow the anger over what happened to his father to burn off and burn away, and his uncle and his whole family.
And we don't know at what point he knew about the kids. We don't know at what point they knew about what was happening under the earth.
Yeah.
So it could have been that his dad knew about it. He talked about the gray aliens. So it could be that there was a lot inside of him to deal with, I would guess.
Right. Well, yeah, but he wasn't talking about the grays as aliens up there,
the children and the people that live below the.
That's right, and these left brain Canaanites are the gray demons of this world, and they use the subterfuge of space to scare and to control your narrative. Again, just go back to Roswell, 1947. It all starts from there. And then Hollywood was all in 100%. Of course, it's all true because Hollywood has just absolutely made it absolutely all true.
Yeah.
Of course it's true. Of course it's true.
Of course, yeah, because I saw it in a movie. Because I paid $25, so it for a ticket, so it must be true.
Yeah, he won an Academy Award for it, and oh my God, that ET thing, that was so beautiful,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same way with the whole Sasquatch phenomenon, right? Ever since the Patterson and Gimlin film, all of a sudden people start seeing it, right? Yeah, as though it must be true. It's crazy
stay away
how
from the mountains, stay away from the tunnels.
That's right.
Because that's
Yeah,
where
That's where
lives. And you don't want to go into the forest by yourself. And and I remember my my stepdad told me these stories. He was in the military, and they were in the far north, close to Alaska. And he said that there's this mountain, and it had a name. I forget now the name of it, but it was basically there was a a whole story about how people would go in and they would get their heads chopped off. So, you know, just don't go into that area. This was close to the, you know, in the northern regions. Those kind of fairy tales were everywhere, and you just stayed away from certain areas because we were scared, right? And your parents would always tell you, you know, don't go wander off by yourself. But I mean, there were some real fears because people went missing. And now you know why and what happened to them, and you're like, holy catfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me interject before I forget, because I forgot it once. But one of our great friends, everybody knows and loves here, is Christy Bassett, and Christy has done incredible work this year on Facebook and elsewhere. She's been such an enormous help to all of us. And Christy pointed out something that I had written down earlier, and I glossed over and I didn't mention it. So I really want to thank her for doing that. Again, who was Todd Bergen? Who was Todd Bergen? In the moments after the plane was reported missing, suddenly there's this person for the Coast Guard named Todd Bergen, and he's basically saying some very, very key things here, that the plane was on final approach, that the plane did report in to the Martha Vineyard landing or the Martha Vineyard airport, that the house was on a path right over his usual path, right over his mother's home on Martha's Vineyard. And, you know, that a homing beacon was set in place because, you know, he did call in to the tower and let them know that he was on his final descent and stuff. And that then this incredible little phone call concludes with him saying that the Coast Guard are not going to be taking over this. This is going to be run by the Navy, which is just completely unprecedented. So nobody can verify who Todd Bergen is or was. No one can. And yet that was that first, and that call has now been scrubbed off of ABC, NBC, CBS. There's one guy I remember that paid somebody, or one of the researchers paid somebody that he knew that worked with ABC money to go back and try to find the original tapes on that with the Todd Bergen call. And the guy actually found it, recorded it, and then sold it. So that's why that recording, you still find that recording, and then they quickly take it down. So the question would be, who was Todd Bergen in the moments after the crash? It's JFK Jr. It's absolutely JFK Jr. And he's reporting in as the master of disguise his own crash.
I think he's also been having a lot of fun doing what he's doing. I mean,
Yeah.
as 107, and he sets all of those you know, sets the scene for us all. And then you look at his hands, and I'm like, yeah, that just doesn't seem to jive. But you know that he's the master of disguise, so they can even put a sleeve over top of a hand. That's all he ever shows is his hand with the ring, and it's got, you know, a broken pinky finger or whatever. And it's just master of disguise. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, with all he's had to endure going under, and all he's had to sacrifice going under for us and the rest of the planet, I would hope that he would have a little bit of fun with it. You know, you know, I don't want him to suffer. He's already had to give up so much.
Driving his Aston Martin, and he has 14 other trucks in his you know, garage. So yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to, there's a lot of comments about sort of aliens and people who talk about that kind of stuff. So I want to give my best take on that, because it was something that took me a minute to wrap around for a while. And so just for everyone out there trying to wrap around the fact that aliens don't exist, just keep in mind that all of this technology that has been hidden from us for so long, that's been used, they've been able to fake these sort of alien abductions and capture people and do all this kind of stuff. So anytime that ever happens and these stories leak of these people who are very serious, they're very serious about what happened to them and how horrible it was, but it's all been done through this secret technology that we haven't had access to. So they've been able to sort of co-opt and push these fear campaigns out there. So that's one level of it. That's the sort of physical layer of it. But then there's also tapping into other dimensions, other dimensional beings and other forms of consciousness. And that's not necessarily alien. It's not from anywhere else, not from other planets or star systems or anything else, but it's other layers of our consciousness that we can tap into. And the more people that tap into that single band of consciousness, it actually solidifies those beings and makes them more real, because all is consciousness anyway. So the more of us that are tapping into that same layer of consciousness makes that particular being that much more real. And so this is where we can have these sort of like comments about the Palladians and wherever else, the Draco, however you want to portray it, but it's all us portraying that level of consciousness and projecting into it and speaking to it. And so it becomes real in a sense, but it's not these physical beings traveling from all over the world, all over everywhere. It's us playing with the infinite consciousness space. So I just wanted to put that out there, because it took me a while to wrap around how all this worked out and how all these people were speaking about different things, because there's a lot of truth to it. There's a ton of truth to it, but there's a ton of lies mixed into it as well. And so you just have to really come back to that centered space, simplify everything. We're here to ascend, we're here to play with consciousness and to grow and to learn and to experience. All that there is here and now, and everything that ever has been or ever was is here and now. And so we can tap into it in a whole bunch of different ways. But all of these people talking about star systems and traveling all over the place, like it's a bunch of bullshit. So just tune that out and realize that. So that's my best take on it. Feel free to. I'm getting some nods from Charlie and Colleen, so I think I'm in the right direction. But feel free to correct anything.
It absolutely is the case. I've talked about this. When we started to really grow, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whatever it was, and we started soar. There were so many people that are saying, Charlie and Colleen, they've got this great stuff, but they just go on and on about this veganism stuff and the flat earth stuff. And I mean, they're just totally out to lunch, and I just can't connect with this. The first thing, if we're here to go on this journey, and that there's one story, and I've spent 3 years just trying to show everyone that there's one story, and there's a different variation of it, and everybody's just recreating the good guys, the bad guys. Everybody's just retelling this one story. And if this is our true purpose, then the first thing the creator is going to do is to create a closed environment so that his chosen creations are free to be able to take this chosen path, the path that they need to find the creator, which makes perfect sense, because we have to do it ourselves so that we will develop self-confidence and self-worth within ourselves. Anything worth doing, worth having is worth doing. So we have to go through this process of going from the apprentice to the master. Well, you can't do that if you're on a spinning, tilted, wobbling, twisting, turning earth that's, pulling in 5 different directions at 5 different speeds and being yanked across the galaxy well north of 1,000,000 miles per hour. You can't do it, okay? So then you just go into the Bible and you look at Genesis and you read through Genesis. It's all there. Just take your time, read it slowly, go through, ask questions, but it's all there for you. And I mean, the same thing with the Quran, the same thing with the Bhagavad Gita. You slowly go through these opening chapters. They're telling you the structure. Platos, another key point, because it just came to me the other day. I was sharing this with Colleen. In the Bible, Jesus is a carpenter, and we have with us here the just in carp, fish in ter. The Justin Carpenter 33 is in the path of going within and the path of Jesus Christ. And so in the Bible, in the book of Mark, I think it's 6:3 in the book of Mark, this is where it talks about Jesus, the carpenter, and that he's a creator through his hands. Well, when you go back to the Greek manuscripts, the original Greek manuscripts that became the Bible, It's not Carpenter, it's tecton or tectos. Okay. And the first example that they give of tecton or tectos is plate tectonics. And throughout the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible, they talk about platus. Platus is Greek for plate, because it is a level, it is a round but level plane, is a plate. And in plain sight, they talk about the crust, the surface of the earth being a series of plate tectonics. Wouldn't they call it ball tectonics? You know, if we're a ball, wouldn't they call them ball tectonics? Why do we have plate tectonics? Plates are flat. The earth is constantly, I mean, every 100 meters, it's noticeably bending. It's noticeably bending. Just keep looking at these 100 meters and it keeps bending and bending. You can't see it anywhere, but apparently it is. And so why would you call that plate tectonics versus curvy tectonics or ball tectonics? Seems like ball tectonics would make more sense, but it's plate tectonics because we live on a plate, platus, which is used everywhere. So in the Bible, tecton or tectos, it's so funny because like Colleen and I have been teaching you, and that's what this new book is all about, which is to teach you the etymology of words so that you take back your power. You look at the words, the usage of tecton and tectos in modern language, and it's all about building and the builder and constructing. And the modern interpretation, which is a great sin, is this construction, because that's the Bible talks about this. No, you don't want to be constructors, you want to be co-creators with the Father, right? And then co-creating is through here, not through here, right? So Hiram Abiff built Solomon's temple without tools, and everything was built elsewhere in silence and then just magically brought to Solomon's temple and then installed in complete silence. Solomon said was installed without tools in complete silence. And the guy's name is Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff is the Hiram above. And the Hiram above is Jesus Christ, who's a creator, who's a co-creator, not a constructor. Didn't work with his hands, he worked through his hands. Just like Reiki, and real Reiki masters are miracle workers. It's the greatest form of medicine there is, because again, with your mind in tune with your hands as creation, as a creating device, you can do anything. So you can do anything. It's the best medicine I've ever experienced in my life.
This is a great opportunity to talk about how there are negative energies and positive energies, right? So in the truth community, they're talking a lot about how they're being energetically attacked, and this is an interesting topic right now about we don't understand how powerful we are. And you were just saying to channel energy through your hands, channel energy through, and how powerful is it if a group of people are channeling, the power of prayer, the power of intention, the power of love. So when we all understand how we operate and how powerful we are on that magnetic, energetic level, when someone comes and tells you that, well, you're being attacked psychically or you're being attacked energetically, we're like, yeah, but I don't accept that, and I will just push back. I will just put my power out and nothing can touch me because I'm magnetic. Try to push a magnet on the opposite end, you can't do it, right? So if you're the opposite, if you're a good energy and there's a bad energy, the two can't attract, but they have to tempt you into that lower energy. So then they have the ability to harm you. But if you're on this, throwing your net to the right and you're in this magnetic love, they can't touch you. They can't touch you. And that's how Trump does what Trump does. And that's how JFK does what JFK does. And that's what we're telling you. We have this incredible magnetic power. Let's learn to use it. And they have no power over us anymore.
Yeah,
it's an illusion.
And I know you guys jump in and say lots of great things. One key thing that I just wanted to end quickly with what the true, so remember what we told you, with all of these words, you have to get past the recent definitions of them. You have to get past Greek and Latin. You have to go to Proto-Indo-European, which when you see in dictionaries and stuff, it'll often say from PIE, P-I-E. PIE is Proto-Indo-European. Those are words that originated from India, traveled that pathway through Persia into Europe. Those are the PIE words. And most of those relate to Sanskrit, which is our saintly script, which is that first language, which is that most pure, beautiful, accurate language. And if you take tekton or tektos all the way back to Sanskrit, it originates there. And guess what? In its original form, how, like we said, how they turn everything upside down. And so now tekton or tektos or a carpenter is somebody who constructs with their hands. Do you know what it is? You do it yourself, You go look at it yourself. You'll see it for yourself. You go tekton or tektos, and in Sanskrit, it is he who unites two realms in peace. That's Jesus Christ. So you see, yeah, Jesus is a carpenter, but what a carpenter really means, tekton or tektos, which is he who unites two bodies into one, higher realm, lower realm into one. This is what we're here for. That's Jesus Christ. And you see how they constantly twist and twist and twist the words so you stay off of this path. And the grays look a certain way, and they're very small because that's what children look like when you make them live their entire lives underneath the ground.
But without sun.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. And we exist. So somebody was asking, I get the plain part for planet. What's the T? Your fourfold nature.
Physical.
And look at any picture of Jesus Christ with the illumination behind Jesus. It is a circle. It is a circle with a cross through it. See, that's you, that's life, that's this earth, that's this journey. You have a fourfold nature. And what you realize is that whether you go north or south or west, it's all to the left of the right. There's only one right on the fourfold nature of man. That's to the right. That's the tribe of Judah at the foot of the rising sun, penitent, humble before the rising sun every single morning, the tribe of Judah, of the 12 sons of Jacob, who crossed that river alone and met God face to face in a place called Peniel. And that's what this is what this is all about, plain T. It's the journey. And, like Santos Bonacci teaches that in Italian, they use this terra firma, and people just think that terra is the earth and firma is firm. It's not. Firma in Italian, which then goes back to Latin, is this flat. It's a disc. It's a plane. That is what it's referring to. But again,
as in firmament.
As in firmament. And so, like I said to you, the first thing that God would have done to ensure that we were uninterrupted in doing the sacred journey to find him, that's what this is all about. And you can only get there through the mother. So then it's all about family, but the Catholic Church won't admit that because they hate women. So, so the first thing he would have is a firmament. And you see, if you're taught firmament from the moment you're born, you got, where's your fear? If there's no movement, if the earth has never, ever, ever moved, and we're the center of the universe, and everything is a show for us that the stars be the signs. I don't know who says that. Maybe the Bible, Genesis says, let the stars be for signs. If you're taught this from the youngest age, then you would realize that you're protected and that you have to go on this journey. And that, that's why at the age of 12, the chrism oil, the milk and honey is released within you, because that's that age where it starts, right? But not anymore, because, we're 55 and we haven't grown up yet. We're not mature yet. We're not ready to go on this journey yet. It's just incredible how badly they've dumbed us down. So sorry for all of that again, guys, but please jump back in.
Yeah, I just wanted to tag on to all of that. Like what Colleen said specifically about putting on having that armor of God, because that's what she's referencing, is having that armor of God. Nothing can penetrate it. If you stand within your divinity, if you stand within that knowing, that true knowing that nothing can penetrate this, nothing can stop me, nothing can do that. If you know that God has your back, it's truly unstoppable. Like there's nothing that can penetrate that. But the way that this creation is set up, and why these demons like to congregate and perform rituals and do stuff. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I love Greg's pen. But why these demons like to congregate and perform rituals? Because there is power of intention, and there is power of collective intention. And so they'll do this, but the only way that they can, it's almost like a hierarchy. Their evil intention is always weaker than the power of God. It is always weaker than the power than the power of the descendants of Abel, that those that cast their net to the right. When you stand in that truth, it is always weaker than that. So the only way that they can get us woven under their dark spells is if they lower us into this form where we're not even choosing. We don't even know which way to cast our nets. We're just these lukewarm, haven't made a decision, always in a fear mindset. And that's the only way that they can project their spells onto us, is putting us into this state of lack of power. And that's why they've been so insidious with pushing this bullshit lie that we're these worthless sinners and we have no power within us whatsoever. Because when we believe that, when we truly take that into heart, we lower ourselves down below them. And that's why it's so amazing changing the language from understand to understand, because we stand under nothing. We are children of God. We stand under nothing. And as soon as you believe that, as soon as you know that, and it's not a belief, as soon as you know that, there is nothing in this whole creation that can stop that. So just remember that. Just remember how powerful you are, because the moment we truly take that, to heart, none of these demons can ever do any of this ever again. If we teach every single child that ever comes onto this plane that simple truth, they can never do this ever again. So just remember that. That's what I wanted to say.
Their authority, their power is an illusion. The moment we stop believing that illusion and stop giving ourselves away to the illusion, we will no longer be victims of that illusion, and instead we will become the miracles of the Creator. And if you're a miracle of the Creator, you're not under anybody. You're the miracle. Okay? You're the miracle, and you are powerful, and you are a powerful co-creator. And when you're a powerful co-creator, nothing can stop you. Nothing can touch you. So just, tagging on to what you said, Justin, and it's all an illusion. It's all an illusion. That's why they pump fear, aliens, Bigfoot, monsters in the woods, werewolves, because they want you. And that's why they put that out in nature, because they don't want you to connect with the mother. They want you to stay away from some of the most beautiful and most magnificent spots on this planet. I mean, look at all of the wonderful and just absolutely breathtaking spots out in nature that they have deemed to be deadly and dangerous. And you can't go there, because if you go there, something big bad's going to get you. It's going to come out from nowhere and pick you up by the back of your head and drag you away into a cave somewhere and eat you. So you can't go there.
Those reptilians will come out and get you.
Yeah. You can't go there, because it's just a dark, dark place. And look, I'm not here to say that you shouldn't be safe when you walk out into nature. I'm not saying that there aren't carnivores out there and ways that you can get hurt if you don't know what you're doing. Of course, always take caution and always be aware. But it's the mother. It's the sacred mother. It's the mother. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. You're meant to connect with her. You're meant to touch her. You're meant to feel her. You're meant to embrace her, not to run away scared. That's not what it's for. Yes, there's all types of different creatures and animals out there, and some of them don't want to be bothered, and some of them you really don't want to come across. Some of them you just want to be at a distance and respect them. you know, and that's okay. And yes, there's plenty of ways that you can get hurt if you don't know what you're doing. I don't want to tell anyone to go out there willy-nilly and be stupid. You know, you have to have your wits about you when you're doing these things. But it's the mother, it's the earth, it's the ground, it's the trees, it's the sky, it's the bird, it's everything. It's meant for us to connect with, not to run away screaming in fear. So all of these things are put in your in your path as an illusionary fear to keep you away from it, to keep you, as you said, Justin, to keep you down and to keep you from experiencing the high and the connection, the true connection to the earth and to the animals and to the energies around you. That's what it is. Look, I studied, you know, cryptozoology because I found it fascinating, right? But at the very end of the day, and I'm going to say this, number one, I've noticed a lot of comments about David Wilcock and what about the show Ancient Aliens and all that other stuff. Listen, I know that I've watched that show before and it talks a good game, but when you realize who owns the History Channel, Disney, so yeah, all of a sudden that show just goes it goes flat because who do you want teaching you history? Mickey Mouse? I mean, come on.
I just want to interject. Ancient Aliens is us. We are the ancient aliens. We were the ones who had all these technologies. We were the ones who did all these amazing, miraculous things.
Yeah.
We've just forgotten.
Hey, guys, what did Jay Leno say on the show? Did anybody catch on that clip Jay Leno saying? And he goes, yeah, and he said, you know, you're right that we all know that there's nothing new under the sun. It's all been here before. There's nothing new under the sun. I swear to you, when God created the earth in 6 days, and rested on the seventh day, we were created in the first 6 days. I guarantee it. We've been here from the beginning. That's how this all works. He created for 6 days, and then he has been in perpetual stillness and silence. Every time since, because that's how you hold the eternal moment. We live in eternity, and it's like this is what we've been trying to teach you, is that every time you dismiss these gifts that we have, every time you dismiss this one story and choose not to grow Eamon's horn and become the white unicorn, you're dissing the Father and all the work that he does. You're dissing the Mother and all the work she does. And you're dissing Jesus Christ and all the work he's done. The thing that you need to wrap your minds around is that the 3 hardest working people in history are God Father, the Sacred Feminine Mother, and Jesus Christ the Child. They are the 3 that work the hardest and work the hardest for us. Stop being fucking lazy and start doing the work. This is about doing the work. And then you feel so good. It's like Colleen shares with everybody all the time that I fall asleep every single night like that. I'm dead tired at the end of the day. There's nothing left in me. I am so far gone and
There's
so
no
glad to be
conversations
removed.
once his head hits the pillow. And if I'm over on my side, just like, well, nope, he's out.
But I swear to you, the people that are suffering from I can't sleep, dedicate your life to helping others. Work hard helping others, and you'll sleep like a baby. Guaranteed. You don't need to take a pill. You just need to dedicate your life to helping others, and you'll sleep like a baby. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's why virtue is at the core of it is. That is virtuous. Magnetic. Virtuous. The mother is virtue. And she'll rise in a den of sin, and she won't. Coils up like a serpent, and she will only coil when you become a penitent, humble man. When you become a virtuous soul, humble before God, then the mother is free within you. And what does she do? She rises, and she never goes anywhere empty-handed. That means she's going to take you with her. And then that's that one journey, that's that one story. But you see, you have to kill the dragon first, because the dragon is you living in your left brain. And remember, for these demons, these are the Luciferians. The Luciferian agenda is the out there agenda. It's the answers are all out there. No, it's all inside of you. Everything is inside of you. And until we wrap our minds around that, I mean, I don't know how Jesus Christ in the New Testament, that's all he says, is that the kingdom of heaven is within you, and I'm about to show you the way. And then that's what he does. He takes the entire time to show you the way within you to discover God. I don't know how people miss this. I literally don't, because I talk a lot about it's allegories, but there's Jesus, it's just all boom. It's just boom. And that's why you need to be reading that King James 1611 edition Bible. It's a sacred construction. 1,
And it will
6,
help.
1, 1. 6
Yeah.
and 3 ones is 9. It is the divine version of this Bible. God intervention to make that as clean in the English language as is possible.
And to
The
help
magic
you out,
are there.
because it can be dense and hard to read with the language, but we'll definitely in the future be able to go through a lot of those scriptures and do some videos on them. It'll be great.
With Justin and,
Yeah.
and Greg.
And-
I mean,
and
oh my
whoever.
God, that'd be so much fun.
Yeah,
That'd be
I love
amazing.
that.
But back to what Greg said earlier about the demons not having as much power. It's because they're operating out of the 10%.
That's-
We're operating out of the 90% of God. Okay. So we've got that magnetism on our side, and they've got the electrical. So they're always falling down, but they have to work very, very, very hard. They don't shut off. Charlie's always said that in the beginning. He's like, they're going 24/7, 365, because they can't stop doing what they do, or we would rise. And we will
in a
rise.
split second. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why
Right.
this whole system has been so brilliant on their part to keep us locked in, like, because they fear us. They fear us so much. They fear our potential. They fear our power. And so they've had to start. We've talked about this before, but they start from birth, and every single action is just constantly reiterating, like, how can we keep this thing this thing that's going to rise up and break free, how can we keep it preserved and under lock and key? And so they just have to be very meticulous. But it's a house of cards. It's a house of cards, because as soon as we realize, as soon as we step into our power, it all just starts to crumble. And it is crumbling. It is crumbling faster than you can say it.
And it is, guys. And like I said, just never be afraid to take the biggest lies and then to just dive headfirst into breaking them down and breaking them apart, because they're all just lies. And like I said, so one of the biggest things out there is that, everybody knows that the Anunnaki is this ancient gigantic alien race of lizards that came here, and they love our women. They love to have sex with the women. They love to eat the men. They love to have sex with the women. And then they're brilliant geneticists. And so then what they like to do with the children that they create is alter the genes of this. And, they're space aliens, the Anunnaki. Anu is from annual, as in the path or the journey of the sun. Anu is an ancient Egyptian term for God in the sky, like Jupiter, God. And the Anaki is Enki. Sorry, and Enki is the Egyptian for the Persian Ea, Ea, who is the water goddess, who is virgin and pure and cleanses. And so Anunnaki is Anu Enki, which is father and mother. Sorry, but it is. Sorry, it is. It's not space aliens that are 18 feet tall and 6 tons that are brilliant geneticists.
It's okay if you bought into that, because I did too. For a while, I studied it. I needed to know if there was anything to it. And it sounded really good. And you just never know, right? You keep an open mind. But yeah, when you discover that the Luciferians had an agenda and it was all to take God away, then it just goes boom.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
suddenly you know, even A Course in Miracles, people were talking about that. And I know Marie studied that too. And I had all 3 books, and I didn't study it per se, but I had it, and I wanted to study it. I just never had the time, but it was beautiful. And they had lots of tapes and cassettes, and it was all really beautiful. And Marianne Williamson, I got a couple of her books, and it's the same thing. It's just they pull you away from your own power. And when that happens, when they take God away from you, then you know that there's an agenda and it can't be right. There's that little feeling inside of your stomach, and you go, there's just something about that. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't empower you as a person to be a good, kindly person. It might take you to another place where you're just a little more selfish, and it's more about just me, 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 me. But that doesn't empower you either, because we're all one. So yeah, there's so many just subtle things that click in, and you're just like, there's something doesn't feel right. Listen to that. And as you
Yeah.
become more discernible, you will know. It's just
Yeah.
there's something off. Something's not right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with studying it and finding out that it's just not right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's essentially what I did. Going back to the cryptozoology thing, I was fascinated by it, but at the very end of the day,
Right.
when I was finished, I found 2 things, and 2 things only, that were true. Number 1, the people. Okay, and I say this because not everyone's a liar and not everyone's crazy. If someone had an experience out in the woods, or they thought they saw something that they can't explain, I'm gonna give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to show compassion, and I'm going to say, okay, maybe you did. Maybe there was something you couldn't explain or wrap your head around. That's fine, because not everyone's a liar. And number 2, most importantly, nature. That is real, because that is the mother. And it allowed me to connect more with nature. So it was perfectly fine to study something like that, but at the end of the day, there were only 2 things that were true out of the whole thing. Everything else is just another thing to make you live in fear that you can't go out there, you can't connect with it, you can't walk in the woods because you're going to die, you're going to disappear, something's going to come and get you. It's just all, again, it's just very, very clever fear porn put into tall tales and very intricate stories. And again, all these shows that they put on these channels, look at who owns the channels, look at who owns the media. Again, would you rather be getting your history from a pedophile mouse, or would you rather be getting your real history from the books that we know, and the places that we know are real and true? And who would you rather I mean, who would you rather connect with? Something that's behind a black box, or something that's real? God. I mean, come on, people. I mean,
Yeah.
think about that.
Well, and just to tack on to that, there are, I mean, they have been responsible for a lot of the abductions and horrible things that have happened to people when they're off on alone. But it's all been these same evil bastards, these same evil Canaanites that have been doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just to push fear. I mean, it's all well, and to collect and harvest. And it's just like it's all so heinous how widely they do it. But then they have these scapegoats, these stories to put it on, and that they're reptilians to make them seem scary. I mean, they would love us to believe that they are these horrible reptile beings that they can transform into, because it makes them sound a lot more ominous and scary. But it's just a bunch of lies. It's just to push more fear. And so anyone pushing that kind of stuff, there are a lot of people out there that push the whole reptilian thing, and it's just another lie. It's just another lie made up to push the fear a little bit more. So just remember that, that there is nothing other than us. And there's nothing other than what we can create. And it doesn't because again, going back to that, the sort of alien thing, like I had a hard time with coming to terms with that, but it means it doesn't discredit a lot of people who do have real experiences with other dimensional beings out there. They're having real experiences, but it's connecting to their higher consciousness. It's connecting to those higher forms of consciousness that we can all tap into at any point. So it doesn't invalidate these people who like Magenta Pixie, who do speak with higher dimensional beings, but she's connecting to her higher forms. She's connecting to her higher dimensions,
Yeah.
just as we all can, and it's all going inward.
Yeah, and Magenta is always just so humble in her experiences, and yeah, it's actually really beautiful. I just did a show, another show with Jen and Magenta today, and again, you know, the amount of references on both of their parts today about God, we're God's children, and this is that we have to become co-creators with God. That's in what the entire process is about. They didn't use words like construction; they used creation, and it's co-creating through God. That's how everything, you know, again, they're getting it right again and again and again, and they're using all of the right terms. They see this bigger picture. They may explain it a little differently than we do. They come into it a little differently, but I just have so much love and respect because, again, at the end of the day, they are very humble about all of this, and they are really casting their nets to the right around you know, God consciousness, God and the mother and the child. It's really beautiful, really beautiful. So yeah, it's what it is. And again, look at what these demons have done to the national parks, not just in America, but Canada as well. They've got Canadians scared daylights of going out into our national parks, and they've done the same thing in the States as well. And then kids are going missing left, right, and center. And I remember the first time, you know, I was in Disneyland with our youngest, and looking around going, this is like, I think about the second day, just look around going, so weird. There's so many doors that just come out of nowhere at Disneyland. Little mounds, and you're like, why are these grass mounds even here? And they're just high enough to be able to create a door. Well, where the hell does that door go to if it's just like this little, you know, berm of grass kind of thing? It's like, well, that's all underground.
They have an intricate tunnel system.
And they have it, and then
Yes.
they're the first ones
Legitimately
to,
so,
yeah.
right? Because they need to
Yeah.
move people all over
Mickey
the
Mouse
place.
needs to go here, there, and everywhere. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now that we know what we know,
Yeah, kids go
Yeah.
missing at Disneyland in astronomical numbers, and it doesn't get reported. And yeah, it's incredible.
Yep.
Do some research on Walt
I've been
Disney.
in those tunnels. I've been in those tunnels because I had a college internship years ago with Disney World, so I got to see the whole underground operation there, and yeah, very easy for them to slip anything under there without anyone knowing. And there's tunnels within tunnels down there too. I can't even speak to how many doors there are down there that lead even further down below. It's very scary. It really is. It's a reality.
Yeah, I mean, that's how these demons have to operate. They have to operate in the shadows because they know if they can't survive under the light of day, they can't survive in the truth and the transparency. So that's why we have to bring all of that all fully transparent, flood these tunnels, get rid of all the dark spaces, and keep that light shining as brightly as possible. That's where we got to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but we're coming up on 3 hours, so let's go ahead and do some final comments and wrap it up, y'all. I mean, I could sit here and talk all night. Like, I love talking with y'all. It's always so amazing. We've gone really out there. Well, I guess we've gone really in there, but yeah, we could certainly keep it going. But I think it'd be best to kind of wrap it up. So Greg, do you got any final thoughts for this evening?
Yeah. Once again, it's such an amazing honor and privilege and just absolute joy to be here with you all as it always is. And again, just beyond blessed and uh, just so overjoyed, you know, to be here now and to be continuing to work with you know, such amazing souls. And yeah, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier in the show. And everyone, the reason why it's playing out the way it is because we have to change. We have to change. The change starts with us, because our fault or not, we allowed this to happen. and we have some responsibility in this, and we have to make the change. We have to change within ourselves, and then transcend that change out into the world. And we can do that because we are the miracle and we are the co-creators. So we can, and I know that we will, create a beautiful, beautiful world out of this. But first, we have to go through the pain. We have to go through the ups and downs, and we have to change. We have to make that change. We have to say that all of this, every last bit of it, is completely and utterly unacceptable and shall not and will not happen ever, ever again. Not only our children, but no one, no creation of God shall be touched or harmed in any way, shape, or form. It is to be loved and respected and held dear always. We have to accept that change. We have to embrace that change, and we have to be the change. We have to live it. We have to breathe it. We have to create that change as co-creators, and we have to transcend that out to everybody else, out into the entire universe. So I leave everyone tonight with this: be the miracle, be the change. You know in your heart that this has all been wrong from day one. Take a stand. Co-create the change. Co-create the correction. Stand in your power. Stand in your light. Lead by example. And let's lead this world into a much brighter, better, and more beautiful day. I love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Charlie and Colleen. Again, it's just, it's always good to be with family, truly.
Yeah, and we are just so family. It's ridiculous. We truly are. We're connected to each other so deeply. So it's wonderful. And Greg used the word correction. Once again, they pervert the truth of these words. Rection is to rise. Correction.
Double R. There's a double R there, right?
Yeah. And every time there's double letters, it means you take a hard look. When you see two letters in a row, it means use your eyes and you look and you look. Every time there's doubles, they're there for a reason. You have to take a hard look at them. So rection is to rise. Correction, what do you think it is?
Together.
What's co? To get her, you have to be together. So it's all about the family. Co-creation is with the Father. And when you co-create, then you raise the mother, and the mother raises you, and it's just this incredible process of family. And it truly, and the strength of this world is the three, and the three is the mother, the six is the child, and the nine is God. And Tesla said, if you understand 3, 6, and 9, you understand the secrets of this world.
How interesting that it's the King James version's 1611, which is 639.
Yep, it totally is. 3, 6, and 9 is 1611 King James edition, and it's truly blessed because somehow, some way, the devils didn't take the magic out of the book. So JFK Jr. is alive, folks. He is a goodly, godly soul, and somehow, some way, that young man learned patience, and patience is a virtue. And he learned to take all of that anger, that righteous anger, and to learn to channel it. And what he did is he channeled it into Sun Tzu and the art of war. And when you read this book, it's a treatise on life. And Sun Tzu is a very, very righteous man, righteous soul. And everything is about just doing things the right way. And you win before you start. That's how you win a battle. You win before you start. And it's a sacred importance that you do, because when you go to battle, you're battling evil. It's always, doesn't matter street corner or not, it's good versus evil. And good has never lost a fight when it stands up for itself. And I think that as much as anything else, that's what JFK Jr. behind the scenes, and Donald Trump with his just overt strength and fatherliness in front of the cameras, have been showing us is that we have to stand up for ourselves, and we're going to fight. We're going to fight. And so, like I said yesterday, when you saw Donald Trump sort of just for the first time ever meekly just, walk away out of this, well, I kind of told you so and stuff, but I've got great hopes for the new administration and stuff. When you see that, buckle in, or order the last batch that Orville Redenbacher's got and get ready, because we cannot be far away from this. And if it does play out for a full year to, March 3rd, so be it.
You don't mean another year or two, you mean right till
No,
March of this year.
until March this year to make 1 year. But I don't think that it will, but again, I don't know. And nobody knows. They're not gonna tell anyone. And a lot of the leaks that are coming up, this is the art of war, which is the art of deception. And
Appear weak when you are strong.
That's right. Appear weak when you are strong. So
Thank you, Abjo.
yeah, and so thank you, Junior. I know you're out there. And by the way, Greg was saying he sees 5-5 a lot and stuff. Just so you guys know, when we were doing like our best work from March all the way through until say October, when I wasn't sleeping at all and just doing all of those videos, when we got comms, we would come to the YouTube channel, and then everything would just be, all the numbers would just be ridiculous. They were just so amazing. And then a few hours later, they were all different and stuff. So that these are comms. The message behind all of those comms was always 5-5. So the message could have been the 3, 6, and the 9. And sometimes it was 7, 7, 7, or 45. But the signature behind it was always 5-5. Just so you know, it was always 5-5. These little comms that we were receiving with numbers on our YouTube channel. So it's really cool.
And I'm 55 this year.
Oh.
I'm gonna be old next year.
And I'm 57.
Nice.
And we're young. We're very, very young, and we're very, very strong folks. 55 and 57 is not old at all. It's just we're kids. We're just kids. Got a long way to go. Long way to go.
We love you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you,
all kids.
Justin. Thank you, Greg.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Yeah, just wanted to say, so appreciate being here. Like every time we get to do this, it's always such a breath. And you can just see it in the chat too. Everyone in this chat is being such a beautiful representation of this new earth that we're shifting to, just full of vibrant love and that sort of acceptance for all. We've been sharing some difficult truths here, and they've been met with such beautiful reception. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for being here and just being so wonderful. And yeah, let's keep doing this. Let's keep
Yeah.
having these sort of congregation places where we can meet together and grow our lights and then go out and shine them as brightly as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And just really quickly, we're doing a show with the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Marie Russell tomorrow. And did she say 8:30?
8:30 our time.
So
Yes.
9:30 Greg's time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, Greg and Justin's time. That would be 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. Great times in both Australia and New Zealand. Not so great for UK and but yeah, and we're going to focus on these 3 wormholes, the real wormholes, which are Washington, D.C., Vatican City, and the financial district in London. What they really, really mean, what this looks like, why they had to go down first. Very, very, very important show. Some really, really good gnosis is going to be revealed tomorrow night. And that's with Marie on Marie's channel. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Great.
That'll be
Yeah.
great.
And so
Yeah.
looking forward to our music show on Sunday, Justin. Yep.
Yeah, that's gonna be great too. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I would just say as we move out from here, just keep in mind the time for convincing anyone is over. Don't worry about convincing people who are
Yeah.
not ready to be convinced. Just love them, just love them, just love them, just love. Even if they're vile, just love them. The time for convincing is not here. Just know that they're about to go through a whirlwind of pain. just just love them because they're going to need it.
Yeah.
And just be ready to support them when we go through this. So just keep that mindset. No matter what happens, just keep that mindset. I love you
Yeah.
all so much. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, definitely. This was wonderful as always.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks.
Just amazing.
Thanks, Justin. Great job, guys.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right. Y'all have a wonderful night. Bye.
Night, guys. Rest well.
Love
Love
you.
y'all.